بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
For the national anthem now. Before we begin our learning journey for today, we would like to appreciate the support from our sponsors. I would like to call upon Mr. Naeem Qureshi from Burak to present a few words and enlighten us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Naeem Qureshi and I am sales manager of Burak UPVC Profiles. Today I am here to announce most of the respected architects are already well aware about the Burak and the consistently utilizing Burak profile. This session is for those respected audience who have yet not experienced Burak. Avail this option to compete with upcoming market challenges. Why Burak is the market leader and becoming the only option for you, sir? Because Burak is offering you one window solution by fulfilling your following needs, ensuring quality product and services. We are the provider of raw glass, processing glass, WPC doors, and UPVC profiles in doors and windows category. Why Burak is the market leader? We are the only option in the market which are providing manufacturing of WPC doors, manufacturing of UPVC profiles in windows and doors category. We are the #1 glass trading company in Islamabad and all over the region. We are the one who has the glass processing unit in advanced technology. Let me through to WPC range. WPC is the ideal replacement to wooden doors. It's a wood plastic composite with 15 to 30% wood in it, making it look like wood, feel like wood, and giving benefits of polymer. Polymer benefits just like termite proofing for lifetime and waterproofing for lifetime. Now we go to WPC features. It's totally non-flammable, it's totally water resistant, termite protection, soundproof, no weather effects, aesthetic appearance, customized design, polishing and paint as like you do of wooden doors. It's totally environment friendly, compatible with all material and totally easy to clean. Burak WPC featuring customized CNC designs. We have our own CNC design, and if a customer have their own customized design, we can provide them. Burak UPVC profile is totally soundproofing, and we are utilizing the Turkish gasket, which give it strength of air tightness, and also it gives the shock absorption. Now Burak WPC featuring same to same procedure, just like as you guys installing the WPC doors, wood doors, same to same polish, same to same paint procedure, no special tool requirement for it. The carpenter, wood carpenter can utilize it accordingly. Yeah. Is it not? We are providing lifetime warranty of termite proofing and waterproofing, which is the good replacement of wood. Now let me introduce you the UPVC and its feature. UPVC is totally non-flammable. It's water resistant, termite protection is added, noise proof, environment friendly, and very economical than aluminum, and compatible with all material, and it's totally easy to clean. Burak UPVC profiles, why a person should choose Burak UPVC profile? We are economically competing the export qualities, meeting our international quality standard. We are offering new series of 98 mm and 70 series, which is Turkish series. First time in Pakistan. We provide multiple colors in UPVC profile, just like black, brown, wooden color, wooden texture, co-extruded SA coating layer is added, and also co-extruded gasket by machine. Safety, security, sound, solar heat, and sustainability are acquired by Burak UPVC profiles. We are providing availability of complete range in international series. German Tech has our premium quality product, just like most of the people would like to install imported product. So German Tech is our premium product to add on. As door is one of the economical product which is used for public places, just like washroom doors and other many. Okay, so now we go to openable series, which we are providing. We providing 70 mm series and 60 mm series in openable. On other side, sliding range, we are providing 80 mm, 88 mm, and 98 mm. Okay. Technical strength, we are providing strong wall thickness, durable color finishing quality with thickness of 2.2 mm, which is quite strengthable. And also the reinforcement steel added, which increase its strength more. We are providing 15-year warranty. And also company is enlisted in the following institution: Military of Engineering Services, Frontier Works Organization, Directorate of Housing, Falcon Project NLC, and many other reputed organizations as well. Our major satisfied clients are Capital Tower, Ibadat University Islamabad, Mall of Gulberg, PC Hotel Multan, Karka Town, AJK, Mangla Kent, 7-Star Heights, Barrier Town, and Parkland Tower Blue Area 1 and 2. We are covering entire all over Pakistan. Our head office is Rawat Industrial State Production Plant is there, and our head office is in Faizabad, and also we are providing through our channel in Karachi, Lahore, Peshawar, and other many cities. We are also certified glass processor. We are providing automatic CNC cutting line, safety tempering, insulating, horizontal washing and drying, glass edging, and glass drilling. Also, we providing clear glass, coated insulating, lower E, and curved glass as well. All the standards are meets of international and European standard. Also, we have certified and achieved awards for 2023 and 2024 as well. We are already registered with the Pakistan Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, University of Engineering and Technology, Lahore, Pakistan Standard and Quality Control. We are also the certified glass provider of international brand, just like Guardian Glass, Emirates Glass, and Saint-Gobain. These are our certificates if they could show you. Customer satisfaction, production scale, and consistently meeting customized requirement, laser complaint ratio, timely addressing of complaint. A significant portion of our client is end user and directly approaching with struggles and increasing demand of our product at domestic level, causing end user to travel the remote location of our factory, follow the market trend by offering you customers to chance to experience luxury with better durability than conventional option, and grab you financial benefit as well. If there is any question, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Abdurrahman, Chief Marketing Officer of Interwood, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. While we figure out the audio, let me introduce. My name is Abdur Rahman. I work for Interwood. I am the Chief Marketing Officer. So I believe Interwood itself is a big name and needs no introduction. But while this audio is getting fixed, let me tell you a little story. Some of you may know this story, but for some, maybe it is an interesting little story. So 50 plus years ago, a bureaucrat retires from his government service, and out of his pure passion and curiosity about furniture, he starts a small workshop in a suburban area of Lahore. And with his passion and with his dedication for design and especially for customer satisfaction, he ends up making small pieces of furniture which he starts selling from his ancestral home, and kind of a yard sale concept. And within 50 years, which in a brand's life is no big number, but in 50 years, the brand becomes one of the largest and biggest and most known brand of furniture in Pakistan. And not only in Pakistan, it also is now becoming known internationally. So during this journey, there have been huge milestones. One big milestone is that being available in all major cities of Pakistan. Another big milestone is doing work with renowned institutions of Pakistan, not only the government, but non-government also. Now, a recent, I think, landmark, which everyone is following cricket nowadays. So this race to the finish, which Mohsin Naqvi had for all of us, and all the eyeballs were on the stadiums. Behind the scenes, we were the company who was providing all the furnishing in the VIP enclosures, in the player pavilions. So we are the one who are providing that also. So a story which started from a small workshop in Lahore has now reached to the stadiums, to the bank branches where you go and deposit your checks and collect the money. So the chairs there, so the doors and the wardrobes in your homes, it has reached every home. So I personally believe it's a great story. It's a story of Pakistani brand reaching to global standards and now exporting to the international markets also. So if the team can tell me, can we figure out the audio? Can we start the audio? Okay, unfortunately, I like the music. It's a good audio. So I wanted to thank the IAPEX. I wanted to thank the association to allow us to bring our new Coalesce range here. It's a product range which we designed in last 6 months. Again, it's a completely Pakistani product which is designed by a Pakistani design house, manufactured in Pakistan. And we are really proud now that we are, being a big Pakistani brand, now we are shifting and trying to focus on younger customers. The product range itself is targeted to the younger and upcoming customer. The prices are affordable also. So we are trying to reach the wider audiences. And I would request you guys to, whenever you have time, 5 minutes, do visit our stall. You will see the quality and the product which we have brought in. and this range is going to expand into the office furniture also. So in next 6 months, Interword inshallah is going to come up with more exciting products, especially for the home and office furniture. So looking forward to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our first speaker of the session is Mr. Janaka Vijayasundara, a professor at the Department of Architecture and former head of the Department of Architecture at the University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. He is the founding director of the Master's Program in Urban Design and heads the UOM Urban Lab Center for Cities, an accomplished architect, urban planner, urban designer, and a conservator. He is a fellow of the Sri Lankan Institute of Architects and holds corporate memberships with the Sri Lankan Institute of Urban Designers, the Town Planners Institute of Sri Lanka, and the Canadian Institute of Planners. He also serves as the founding and current president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Urban Design. Please, Mr. Janaka.
Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon to all of you. It's my great pleasure to be here today. My first visit to Pakistan. I'm enjoyed so far and looked after very well. Your hospitality and all, very extremely thankful for that. So my thanks goes to the Institute of Architects Pakistan, IAPEX Organizing Committee, the President of the Institute, Chairman of the conference, and all the team members, especially our long-known friend, Architect Jahangir. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's great honor for me to be here with you today. So basically, I'm going to talk about urbanism and also how through the localized solutions we can achieve or we can deal with certain issues that is created through the urbanism. So this map is so interesting about me because when I look at the urbanized world during 2nd century BC, I think even before that, this map was done in BC, 2nd century BC by the Greek artist or mathematician Eratosthenes. There you can see that 17 places as urbanized locations across the world. In that time, American continent is not known much. But there you can see the red dots here in South Asia. So these two locations are the sort of marked places. One is in Patna today, Patliputra those days, where I was there last month for another conference. And the other one is Taxila, which is here I'm standing today. So that's where the BC times urbanized world. So with urbanization, we know that globalization also parallelly happened. With that, we have borderless communities, high adaptation of lifestyles, including architecture, and also creating certain problems. But my most worry about is that whether we are going for globalization or a kind of regionalization. Because in the third order cities or the countries, perhaps we are not getting the same thing, same service, same commodities, same goods as the first order countries. So now we are talking about the deglobalization as well, because with the current power struggles and so on, we are having a lot of uncertainties. So this localization is something that we should think. Of course, this was spoken by previous speakers as well yesterday, to a certain extent. How do we deal with that? Through our services as architects, urban designers, planners. Are we thinking of tailoring what we got influenced through globalization into our contextualization? Do we foster our identities, our culture, our transformation? Is it guided? So these are some examples. For example, now the abstract situation has been created, right? This abstract situation has resulted these kind of, how do you call that, conflicted spaces. I can take some examples from Colombo. Perhaps you all are aware with that. But so much of culture areas has been transformed into nowhere, nobody known, senseless places. Now, one example is Slave Island community area with modern architecture, but there's nothing to say, no relationship to the people. So I thought that these are the key things. There may be some more you can add, but at least if we can think these elements, right, which we can put into our practice. So across the time, we see that a lot of different thematic architecture came in. During the colonial period, the various architectural and various practice models, mostly culturally based, were stopped, were eliminated, right, with the colonization. But some of the cultures that I'm not quite sure that we are going into a proper direction with the current way of developments happening. Like, therefore, I thought that the localization approaches at least should thought about. That's my understanding. So that's what I'm going to present today is about this aspect: eco-friendly designs, responsive architecture, restoration, biophilic architecture. So this is a realm that I am very comfortable working, and I think that my service would be that. So first of all, I just briefly go through the research that we did with the Center for Cities. This is World Bank funded research. This was winning project, and we were supposed to look at the public realm and see that how best we can look at these places in terms of safety and comfort. So there are 4 areas that we thought here: physical safety and comfort, maintainability aspects, thermal comfort, and psychological safety and comfort. I think the psychological part is not really embedded into this thing, because then we thought that this would be quite special, doing it by ourselves. So different kind of formulas, different methodologies were worked out. So our task was to come up with a statistical model which can be quantified, right? Especially for some of these psychological things, some are difficult. But I think we did it quite well. Is it stop? Right. So I think I'll pass through this. Right. So these are the model how we did. This is the methodology that we worked out through the entire process. Then there's a slight delay on the. Is it right? I'll go to the next section. Right, so these are the application locations in Colombo. So we selected 22 case study locations. We applied the model that we created and got the results, and results were verified through the public testing and so on. So finally we published 3 documents where someone can test the safety and comfort aspects of a public location and can attain. So these are the design solutions that I'm going to present you. Due to the time, I might go very fast. First 3 basically related to urban design, and other 3 mostly suburban design or something not really central to the city. So out of these, the first one, starting here, Boralla Township Redevelopment Program. We were assigned by the Urban Development Authority to work on this project. This project is a proposal only so far, because these are somewhat challenging in our context to deal with works. So as you see here, Colombo is in two distinct parts. One is a commercial capital, the other one is a administrative capital that was set up in 1985. So Borel township is located in between. So therefore the problems and also the opportunities are also extremely different to other suburban locations, not suburban really, it's all within the city. And also the light railway transit intersection also is proposed for this location. So the area was completely having it no much culture. Some of you have experienced that. And there's no center activity and a lot of traffic issues. Settlements, like there were sort of poor settlements, people living around, they were occupying a lot of lands, and so much of such problems were looked at. And then we were thinking to come up with the urban design principles, and basically it will be a vibrant and diverse kind of upscale integrating community, township, and we wanted to improve a green, right, introduce a new green into place, and also the entire place is to be built with the culture and the civic place, as a civic place. Right now it's not so. So mix of land uses, pedestrian connectivity, local businesses also are here to be played as a main actor. So simply, if I show you our proposal, these purple and green two lines are the railway LRT proposed lines, and Borel is right at the center. And so the plan, we considered about 3 nodes here, which are mostly supported by the other transport as well. And then there'll be this pink or the purple color thing is that the cultural spine which we created in between these centers. So these lands are to be released. Mostly these lands are from the government, right? So therefore, it's a reorganization and reworking out of the government lands, which are heavily underutilized. So this is basically the visual aspect. We have videos as well, but I don't think that we can play. So that's about this project. So next project is about transportation architecture. So I'm very happy that being an architect to work on such a national project, to be the architect of the toll gate designs and ancillary facility buildings in Sri Lanka, which is the first highway or the expressway we built here. And we had to work with other professionals, engineers, transport engineers, etc. Right, so this is a highway map. You can see that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So there are about 78 toll booths and then 15 toll booths. So overall about 35 canopies and some number of toll booths are there. So 120 kilometers length is starting from Colombo, Kottawa, towards the Matara and then Hambantota. You see the pink color is the latest one that was completed about 10 years back. So when we got this project to do, I was also looking at that how other countries, they have done toll gates, because that was a very new one that we never experienced toll booths or toll gates or highways at that time. Then I thought that no, we should come something with localized solution. So these are the gates or kind of structures that you can see in Sri Lanka. Perhaps some of you have seen. Some are temple related, some are social related, entry gates and so on, so on. So finally, we thought that we will get something that a singular design, simple singular design, which is sort of from the original local conditions. And then that can be added into any numbers without losing the character, the aesthetics and balance. So this is the one that finally we got, but this is one of the things. What is there interesting again is that it has a lot of cultural embedding. So these structures are scale-wise different, but they are more aware with the things with the people. And then it's a gateway. So these are the sections, and some of this stuff. You see the locations are quite different. Like we had to work out differently, like for each interchange. This is the one in Kottawa. It's all with fair-face concrete. Again, one of the biggest projects that we did with fair-face concrete with little bit intricate way, that we have columns, beams intersecting each other at different levels. Here, as you see. And there's no any maintenance needed. Like that's one of the major features here, that just washing is required, and also it's merged with the weather on the kind of environment. So this was also shortlisted for the Jeffrey Power Award, as well as we won another award from SLIA. Right. So the next project is about, again, urban design. This was advertised by the newspapers by the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, looking for urban designers to work with that. And I'm happy that we could do this thing. So, sorry, it's going very fast here. Right, so this was the situation before, but I think there's a little issue with this thing. Anyway, so let it go. So this is how the concept is realized. So what we want to do is to create an interface between the community and also the students of the university, where they can meet each other. So this area has been created by shifting the university's boundary into the university side, leaving more space to the roadside. I think that was one of the greatest decisions that university took at that time with our recommendations, making a place, it's a very long place, about 1 kilometer long space at the front of the university. Students can have their, the meetings, their dances, their protesting activities, and whatever. You see that people are selling and coming here. So it's a very multicultural and multi-activity place. So this is, again, the practice-based research that we had, I had another student to work on this. And we were looking at other universities and see that how the biophilic design has affected as a culture basis design strategy. And then we got the results, and we got good results. So the next project here is a visitor center in Jaffna. Jaffna is located in north of Sri Lanka, which has a different culture. You can see the existing buildings and so on. So this is the land before we interfered. And this is barren land, there's nothing much. It's a very dry looking, no trees, not farmed area. So this is a proposal that we brought with one multi-activity building with series of other buildings. What's special here is, thank you, that we created this building project with the participation of the local people as well. Because in Jaffna, you don't get the contractors like in Colombo and so on. So we had to look at their works, and I used to stay there and so on, like working with them to a certain extent. You can see even certain design decisions that we took. So the entryway is located in the pink color, and then you don't see the building until you come to the close to the building. So it has been purposely done in that way. So this is something that we thought that culturally to bring certain elements into there, and also production process here. I think that's also interesting, that I enjoyed quite a lot there. These are the different typologies. This is a multi-purpose hall. Right now you can see that a lot of activities are happening, and even the weddings and tourists are coming, classes, the meetings, discussions, evenings full of people here, as you see here. So I would say that this is also socially very motivated project, where Jaffna, after the conflicting time, that they didn't have much spaces, because what is going on there is completely different. As I said, under globalization, things that culture is not really. So this project is, again, a conservation project. It's a very simple project, extremely small project. We had only 3 months to construct and complete. I had about 3 weeks to do the designs and so on, which is located in the industrial area that was established in 1962 near to the airport. You can see Bandaranaike Airport there. And our surroundings was quite interesting, the lagoon and Muthurajawala, this thing. So this is the situation before we started. And site is there, right? Very small site. Simply what we did is that we repeated the existing building, keeping a courtyard in the middle. And also we brought some material, a little bit of local type of materials to here. So this is the result before and after. There's no any walls or anything that just open to the street, but in Sri Lanka, sometimes it's very difficult to achieve these kind of things. Everybody would like to have their own gates and walls. But I think we have done something with the time as well as the cost, of course, very, very minimum cost for this. The last project is something, normally we see the buildings, finished products, as architects wish to present what is done, completed. But I thought that it's also interesting to share with you what is going on now. So this is still an ongoing project, nature retreat. So this site is extremely beautiful, right? So which is also Ratnapura is another town. You get flooding always. So this site also flooding issues are there, but still this is in a very hills kind of, the middle part is a rib glide thing. So the site is sloping down towards to the edge, the sides, and then after that you get the paddy fields and so on. So the entryway also is like somewhat like suburban or rural looking. And the surroundings, you can see the pictures, and these are the views from the side. This is the central part of Sri Lanka. And so these are the key decisions that we took here. So after looking at the contours, we had to deal with about, say, 13 meters of height difference from the starting point where the middle and towards the edge. So we thought to take the entrance from the middle at a top level and then try to go down. What you see the master planning site development there, the main building is located in the middle, and then you have different other components, and as well as chalets are located towards the nature areas along the paddy fields at a different level. But from the main building, you can experience the entire place into different view angles. Why we have this kind of orientation is we wanted to not to minimize the disturbance of the trees. I think only 5 trees perhaps we have taken out maximum, and because the entire site is full of trees. So that's why we took it that way. So minimum disturbance to the site, follow the contours, views and vistas, utilize the site resources. So these are the key things that we adopted here. Sections were worked out in this way, 3-dimensionally as well. I mean, I have a lot of drawings, but I don't think I have to share here. So some details, entrance area. So you can see that road is at the middle, the higher ground. So you enter to that, and then you have a series of levels to the downwards, right? Because we have 13 meters difference. And so this is how we started constructing the spool and the building, concrete, because we use concrete because of the water table, right? The flood plain, effective flood plain. So site man is a local man. So this is the entire site with so much of green. So it's still going on some of the works here. That's why you don't see the finished one. The bottom is kept open. We use a lot of rocks and small things from the side. Even timber is available around this area. This is the main entrance area. So we used to carve the spaces out from the space or the nature. So this, again, the entrance area. Right. So that's about something that I can share with you within, say, 15-20 minutes. I think I was on time, right? So once again, thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is architect Rana Atif Rahman. Mr. Rana Atif is a practicing architect and a photographer and has been an advocate of alternative transportation in urban spaces. His presentation is titled Revitalizing Islamabad's Markaz, Lessons in Planning, Evolution and Public Space Dynamics. Please welcome Mr. Rana Atif Rahman.
What a lovely presentation we had. It brought my memories from Sri Lanka. The time I visited back in 2018 when Jahangir Saab was the President Arc Asia, and we had that workshop organized by SLIA. And it's always good to meet Sri Lankan people, the most humble people I've always seen whenever I've met them. So this presentation is about our part of the city, where we are focusing on this urban spaces. So the core topic, broadly, we are focusing on the roles of public spaces in urban district. What is a class 5 Markaz designed by Doxiadis? What were the deviations in the design and planning in various Markaz in Islamabad? And how we propose a strategic urban technique to revitalize one of the oldest Markaz in Islamabad and looking way forward. So I'll just take a brief moment and read the first intro. So cities around the world are evolving to place public spaces, community engagement, and placemaking at the heart of urban design. The most vibrant and successful urban districts are those offer inclusive, accessible, and dynamic public spaces, places where people gather, interact, and experience the true essence of the city. From the New York's Highline project to the Copenhagen Superkillen and the London's Norman Paternoster Square, cities are transforming underutilized spaces into highly functional, pedestrian-friendly, and interactive urban design environments. So when we are studying and when we are visiting different parts of the city, different parts of the world, we see such good precedents that we come across, and they are symbols of public spaces that invite us, and they become an international destination. So in contrast to this, we are going to see what is going on in the public spaces in Islamabad, particularly where we have around like 40 to 45 public squares, but they are still very underutilized or misused. So for those of you who are not from Islamabad, just to give you an introduction, that the planning that was done by Doxiadis is actually divided into sectors, and each of the sector is considered as a class 5 community where it is, by class, it means a set of number of people or inhabitants that are going to live in a particular sector. And each of the sector has 4 parts that will actually have one central part that would be considered as a Markaz. And on the left-hand side is the class 6 category community space, which is also known as the Dynapolis, the linear expanding CBD. So there were a set of programs that were introduced as in the Markaz, which I'm going to talk on in particular, that by definition, the Markaz is not only a commercial space, but it was designed for a commercial community activity. But the later part is not so much promoted in our case, and it has been, the land use has been changed at multiple times. So considering these are the some of the key programs that were provided in Doxiadis documents, which you can also visit at the CDA's library. They're like pages of like 8,000 plus documents available. So in this, the key points, the key word that I've highlighted is the local and the green spaces. Out of the area that is proposed, a standard 24 to 32 acres of land is designated for this Markaz, which would actually consider about 30% as a built-up area, and the rest goes to open spaces around the building or places like the walkways, the parking road areas that are under the CDA direct involvement. So talking about the first markers here, this is the G6 markers. As per the definition, most of us just consider that the markers is actually in the center, which is in case also here in the center. But since this was the first markers in Islamabad, so there's a slight difference in the layout design. You see there are two precincts in this. The left part is considering catering all the commercial spaces, and since Islamabad was designed for a new set of inhabitants that were going to settle in, so they required some extra amenities and services. So this precinct on the left side consists of a police station, a GPO, and the first administrative secretariat building. And on the right side, we would see a tri-weekly bazaar, which was the first basic hand need of the customers, a Jamia Masjid, commonly known as the Lal Masjid. And then we have the Dhobi Ghat at that time. There was service of that. Youth hostels, male and female, are also over here. So as per the layout, whatever the city actually required in order to grow, all these facilities were very organizedly planned. So some of you who actually went on the photo walk yesterday, these are the historical images, and we actually initiated the walk from this direction, and you can see what's the difference after 65 years in the architecture and the renovation that is currently being taking place. So whatever was designed by Daxiadis was very thoughtfully thought out, and it was made very accessible and permeable to the people. So considering, dissecting the first precinct over here, on the left side is the pink line actually defines the pedestrian core. And in the guidelines, if you read of the Doxiadis, he actually says that in order to retain those people, you need to protect your pedestrian cores from the vehicular movement and the traffic noise from there. So this is the current renovation that is going on. So after 65 years, there's still, the city requires an urban renewal method, and it is undergoing this renovation right now. So this is, what we are seeing over here is that there's a difference in the public square and how he actually considered the importance of public squares in order to create a micro environment. So now going to the second example is the G7 Merkaz. Doxiadis in his planning always respected the natural landscape of Islamabad. So you can see there's a stream that is flowing and dividing the Merkaz into two parts. It could have been spatially displaced on one side, but it is still being kept in the very centric so that it has easy accessibility throughout from every side. But that over the time, since it was not administrated properly, led to a few problems which we are going to talk about. So now, on a smaller scale, but on a standard size of 30 acres, the Merkaz has all the amenities that were designated. So now taking an aerial shot of this, we are considering how the public space that was originally designed looked like, and over the period of 65 years, how this place has been formally and informally transformed. And again, we would see a continuity and all the good urban features that could incorporate a public space, how there is a visibility from all the buildings into the public square, and accessibility from all the people that are living in the socio-economic class that is living around here. So through these urban maps, we actually see that since most of the land was not being properly taken care of by the CDA, so along the riverine that was flowing right from the middle, we see a growth of trees over the next 40 years onwards. But in 2004 onwards, we see that since there was a population influx coming into the city, and most of the people that are living over here in this sector are from grade 1 to 5 to 17 almost. So the people, there were a lot of movement, there was a lot of involvement of people coming from for job opportunities over here. And we see that the redundant area is now being transformed into a slum area. So underutilized space, again, the issue led to I would say that from Islamabad, we went to Islamabad. So that's how the city has been transformed. The blue area actually highlights the zone that has been mapped over here. One slide back. Okay, so taking case studies of two more of the markers around here. So for those of you who didn't know, Doxiadis actually planned a railway station in I-8 Marcus, but in the later regimes, it was changed to reverted back to a Marcus. And now we see that this, the design has not been done by Doxiadis, but some local urban planners. And the consideration for public space has been significantly reduced. And similarly, if we see that the development of sector D12, the master plan has been locally done, and what kind of an urban space has been strategically placed. So the volume has reduced, the mobility and the vehicular mobility has increased many folds, and what is affecting is that the public space has been compromised many folds in this case. So now I would take a case study. This was part of my thesis that I gave back in 2009 and did the research studies in 8. That this Marcus was originally designed by Doxiadis, and there are still plans over here, but over the time there were some deviations done in the master planning. At that time, we didn't have these 2-3 major buildings where we have the Tehzeeb and the Awami Trade Center next to the public stations. So we see a street that has been designated deliberately because we have a culture of bazaars and informal activity space. So some of the micro level analysis that we did, we actually looked at the plans that were proposed back in 1960s and did a research in 2008, what were the deviations in land use, and we saw a major compromise on the public buildings that were actually placed over here in the Marcus. Let's suppose a plot was designated for a gym or sports area, was now being transformed and commercialized. So in order to retain bring back the image, reclaim the image, we actually had to identify what was the problem in the master plan and how we could strategically place those public buildings in order to revive that concept of a Marcus. So some of the, after doing the analysis, I proposed the urban plans, how in what part of the areas, what kind of strategic interventions can be done. The lower map on the green left corner actually depicts where I first time proposed underground parking plazas and also proposed that wherever it was strategically required. And later on in 2013 onward, we saw in F7 Marcus that parking plazas were horribly designed. So we need to make sure how we are making those kind of, these kind of interventions. Oops. So we see a transition, and now the central core has been protected. We can see the vehicular movement is again being restricted in order to ensure that the public space in the center has been revived. From red highlights the core that is very commercial to a space that we make a transition to, and that is very public and communal space. So this was, So this was the strategic master plan that I proposed. Over the time, we see that there has been a land use change in this. And also, initially, the footprints that were given out were very small. And now we have these requirements of large retail areas. So I proposed bigger footprints by combining the 3-4 buildings that were actually demolished in this. And we can see that this is for the first time that some kind of an urban landscape intervention is being proposed into the markers where we can actually restore a public realm. So from the very busy commercial space on the left side, we make a transition by using it as an informal or formal bazaar, keeping the activities around the clock. Also, I would like to mention that G9 Markaz is one of the most busiest markers, equal to or even more than F7 Markaz. So the community that is coming is not only from the sector that is very close to it, but from other parts of the cities, because there are 2 bus terminals, intra-city and the other one. So some of the aerial shots where I proposed a high density in order to retain those public space and use them very effectively, I proposed that there should be high density apartments over here, which we actually saw later on in F10 Markaz and other markers, that they are now introducing high density in order to make those commercial activities more viable. And it also increases the land value. So we see how the shape of the landscape is being, the hard, rigid grid is now being diluted with the landscape formation. We are adding water bodies to it, and the vistas you can see through this. So only 3 buildings were proposed to be demolished, which were extremely ugly. Not only ugly, they also were as becoming a barrier into the main core street. So the whole idea was that in order to develop a national level or a public, yes, this is the last one. So just have an idea that in order to, we don't have public spaces that could be of any international level. So we need to intervene. We not only need to focus on architecture, but the places and the public realm outside it. So these are some of the examples. As you know that the New York City was planned in 1850, so it took almost 100 years to get that public square restored. But we don't need to wait 150 years. It's already 60 years past, 65 years have passed. So through proper planning and urban planning strategies, revision of traffic analysis, we can actually produce places like these. So why not, why are we going foreign for this kind of, visiting these kind of public spaces? We can have these because we have potentially places designed originally by Doxiadis and other planners. So I would like to thank all of the students that have been coming to internship to my office who have worked on the urban mapping. There's a lot of urban mapping. Yesterday we were discussing that these mappings should be done because over the time of 60 years, there's a gradual change in the urban design and the buildings, and the landscape is changing. So how we can document and preserve it for the next generation is through these techniques. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'm really sorry for keeping everyone on a watch. We have limited time and a lot of exciting things. No problem. Our second presentation is by architect Abbas Akhtas. Abbas is currently serving as an assistant professor at National College of Arts, Lahore. He holds a master's degree in monumental heritage from Germany, and his research includes heritage preservation and conservation. He's going to take us to Lahore to explore its transformation from folklore to a bustling metropolitan city.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. First of all, it's a great honor to be here and presenting in front of you. I will be talking about Lahore. I will be taking you through the journey of how Lahore actually went from being a folklore into becoming a metropolitan, and the issues actually that arise with a metropolitan and how we can actually look at them and have potential solutions to the issues that are being faced. So, So just a brief idea of the placement of Lahore. Lahore is in the central of Punjab, located right on River Ravi next to the border with India. So if we talk about the origins of Lahore, the thing is that it is quite difficult to pinpoint the exact time when Lahore was actually established. We find the roots of Lahore actually in the folklore, in the Indian folklore, which dates back to 10,000 BC, and basically the city was established by the son of Rama Loh, and it was actually upon his name that the city was named. Now, if we look at all the different accounts that we find of this city, it is not actually just this city, it is rather the location which has been mentioned. The earliest written record that we can find is in the writings of Ptolemy, where Lahore has been mentioned as La Bokla back in 150 CE. It is safe to interpret that Lahore was actually established by the Rajputs as one of the Rajput states. So just quickly going through the timeline of Lahore, we will see that Lahore has gone through multiple ups and downs. Initially, we see that Lahore was ruled by Hindu dynasties, but it actually came into quite importance, and it started to get mentioned in different accounts during the period of Mahmud of Ghazni. This is the time when the re-establishment of the formal area of Lahore fort is actually made. During the time of the Ghaznavids, Lahore was facing quite a prosperous time, after which it had its downfall. We see the period of Timur, the barbarian, where the city was almost eradicated. And again, it was a time of quite turmoil till the Mughals actually came into being. We see that the interest of the Mughals was quite a lot over here, and evidence of that is present with all the architecture, art, and culture that is currently present, which we actually image Lahore as when we currently see it. Then again, it goes into a downfall during the periods of the Sikhs, and comes back up during the British Empire. It is actually during this time that we see Lahore exponentially grow with the additions of areas such as the cantonment. Then, when the partition actually happened, Punjab went through a great period of sorrow because the province was divided into two, eastern part becoming part of Pakistan, the western part becoming part of Pakistan and the eastern becoming part of India. And we saw these mass religious migrations take place. Again, this was a downfall period for the city physically, which was then again uplifted once Lahore was made the capital of Punjab. So just a brief explanation of Lahore as a capital. It is now the second most populous city of Pakistan, the biggest city of Punjab itself. It is not only an administrative center, but also a hub of education and healthcare industry, a military stronghold as well. Right now, it is hosting about, officially, more than 13 million people, and covers an urban area of about 1,800 square kilometers. The data that you can see over here is actually statistics that have been taken from the last census that has been conducted in 2023. I would just like you to focus a bit on the population of 2023 and the population that we had back in 2017 with how the city has actually grown. If we keep on growing at this rate, the city will actually have a population of above 20 million people within the next 10 years. So we see that there is this exponential growth that is taking place within the city. Other than that, just have a look at the population densities. So now, because Lahore has such a large population, it has been divided into 5 different tehsils or administrative units. Mainly the Lahore city, mainly the Lahore city, cantonment, model town, Rawalpindi, and Shalimar. If you look at the densities of these areas, Lahore city has the highest density, whereas if you look at the density of the cantonment, it is there's a difference of about 5 times between the densities of these 2 areas. Right now, I'm not taking into consideration Rawalpindi, because Rawalpindi is still a developing area and it is further growing. So how is the city physically growing? Over here, right now, we have a time lapse of satellite imagery of the past 40 years. Just so that you have a certain orientation, you have the old city over here, Rawalpindi down south, Sheikhupura over here. And River Ravi is flowing diagonally from the northeast to the southwest. Please observe how the River Ravi is also changing according to time. So if you look at how the city is actually expanding, you will notice that it is expanding more towards the south. It is being bordered by River Ravi towards the northeast, towards the northern side, and towards the east, we have been bordered by India. So a certain barrier has been kept towards the eastern side, and hence most of our growth has been happening towards the south, while the olden city, being the central business district, is being used as a nuclei. So what are the reasons of Lahore expanding the way it has been? We have gone through the historic and strategic location of Lahore and the role that it plays, and the role that it has played. The partition also played a huge role. Because of the city being one of the most developed areas, we see most of the people actually coming towards Lahore at the time of migration. It is estimated that about 400,000 people actually migrated directly to Lahore from just Punjab. The second reason is it being an administrative capital. The city has a certain importance, and when a place has that level of importance, it starts to attract certain opportunities, and people looking at those opportunities come towards the capital. The third is urbanization. The process of urbanization, we've seen this aspect happen globally, and people looking for greener pastures actually then start to migrate towards the city, leaving their rural backgrounds. The fourth point is the urban establishments. The British, because they had not only had they set up Lahore as an administrative seat, they were also using it as a military stronghold. They have invested quite a lot. One of the things that they had invested in was the railways, and we see how the entire setup is even being used nowadays. Because of these establishments, a lot of people have actually migrated to Lahore and still are. And the last point is allotment of government funds. Being the administrative capital, again, we see that a lot of funding is going directly towards this municipality as compared to the rest of the province. If you look at the master planning, this process has been going on from the start. Since 1951, we have been seeing proposals. Over here, just as an example, we have the first master plan that was actually developed by the LDA, which is the Lahore Development Authority, where again, we see that the expansion is being designed towards the south and is being bordered by Firozpur Road on the east and River Ravi on this, at the west. The nucleus is still being kept the same, which is the old city of Lahore. Now there is a certain grid-like structure that is being followed, but we see that there is this organic nuclear growth that has been planned. But we will be focusing on just the last two proposals that have actually been given, namely the Master Plan of 2021 and the Master Plan 2050, which is now into effect. I just want you to compare the two and see the difference see the differences between them. Just to have a clear image, we have a zoomed in version. So you can see that the expansion is still being done towards the south. If you look at the very bottom of both master plans, Rawalpindi has now completely been incorporated into the urban area of Lahore. But still, in the master plan of 2021, all expansion has been restricted between Firozpur Road and the River Ravi, namely because we need this buffer with India due to our still volatile relations with the nation. And there have been instances such as the War of 1965 where this border has been crossed, and we did have a conflict with India in the area of Barki. Luckily, they were not able to come into the city. Neither was the interest in Lahore. The focus was mostly towards Kashmir. But now, if you actually compare this to the Master Plan 2050, there is one major difference that you actually see. That is actually the implementation of RUDA. We will be talking about RUDA later on. RUDA is the projects of RUDA are all along River Ravi. So these large hatched spaces that you see, which are empty right now, this is the entire jurisdiction of RUDA. RUDA is basically the Ravi Urban Development Authority. It is a new authority that has come into existence in 2020. We will look more into that in detail later. So RUDA is, as we can see, that it is its jurisdiction is right along River Ravi. One more thing which I would like to compare between the two master plans actually are the green spaces. Although the master plan of 2021 is not much of a benchmark, but it still had reserved green spaces such as the Shadra Forest Reserve, which are no longer even marked in the master plan of 2050. So we see that all focus is towards this development, increasing the size of the urban area of Lahore, but sadly the environment, we can notice that is being ignored now. Now, one of the reasons that we actually have the area of RUDA being placed where it is to actually stop the urban sprawl that Lahore is facing, because with the current method of expansion, we see that we are going further and further away from the center of Lahore. Right now, if we look at the distance of Rawalpindi from the CBD, it is almost 50 kilometers, and hence we have massive commute times and distances, and these are also creating quite a lot of issues. So what are the issues that Lahore is actually facing? I have basically divided them into three main categories: socio-economic, environmental, and development and infrastructure. I will just quickly go through them, not to bore you too much. When we talk about the socio-economic aspects, it is mostly about the living conditions and the expenses that the people are having to face, which are actually creating difficulty. Cost of living in a metropolitan is generally more expensive than in rural areas. The main factors being transportation, accommodation, and basic groceries. Financial disparity has started to come. Granted, our currency has faced a lot of devaluation, but that does not affect the industries or the businesses as such, because they just incorporate those costs into their expenses and then pass it over into the consumer. It is basically the salaried class that are actually facing this issue, and hence the middle class has slowly started to disappear, increasing actually the financial disparity. Unemployment, according to the latest IMF reports, Lahore has an unemployment rate of 7.5%. It is increasing even more. Reason being that the markets are now unfortunately saturated in Lahore, and we do not have new entrepreneurs or new industries actually developing, creating those new jobs for the people. Hence, people again, having a higher competition, people are actually accepting jobs at a lower salary as well. And then homelessness. Most of the people that are actually homeless in Lahore are economic migrants. They have come to Lahore for a better future, but because of these increasing expenses, they are not able to afford or even have that standard of lifestyle. With environmental issues, air pollution has become an extremely important topic to talk about. Lahore has an air quality index that exceeds 1,000, which is extremely bad. The reasons for that? The chemical emissions from our industries, brick kilns, and our transport. Water pollution, our water table is decreasing, and with all our sewage being untreated and dumped right into the canals and the river, our water has become toxic. If we talk about land pollution, Lahore is creating about 5,000 to 6,000 tons of garbage every day. Unfortunately, only 1/3 of that is actually being treated. The rest is just being thrown into dump sites. Noise pollution has reached an all-time high, and it is also creating health issues. Talking about the development and infrastructure, population sizes, as it increases, it does bring about its own problems and has started to stress the amenities that Lahore already has. Yeah, I will just speed up. The population density disparity, as we saw in the table, we saw that areas such as Lahore City has a population density that is 5 times higher than in areas such as the cantonment. Because of the disparity in urban sprawl, we see that the disparity in the urban population density, we see that the urban sprawl is increasing because the new developments are actually having the population spread out quite thinly. Now, as we are developing, in the name of development, we have started to ignore what is already built, and so our heritage, the built heritage of Lahore is also suffering because of that. Road networks and transportations, again, the bigger the city gets, the more complex it has to be, the more expensive it becomes to maintain, and so on. Utilities such as gas, electricity, water are already in deficit. With the population increasing, automatically you actually see that even these facilities have to be spread out even more thinly. And last but not least, financial allocation. Lahore, being such a massive city, requires a lot of money for simple maintenance even. So we talked about Ruda a little bit when we looked at the master plans, and we saw the issues of Lahore as a metropolitan. We need to talk about Ruda as well, because Ruda is basically an authority that has been created with a project in mind, which is to revitalize River Ravi and to stop the urban sprawl. How do they plan to do this? With all the research that I have done, it uses extremely generic terms to actually do this, such as creating botanical gardens or having wildlife reserves or algae ponds, but it does not talk specifically about the ecosystem or the ecology of Ravi itself. Ravi has drastically deteriorated, with its water actually becoming massively toxic to the point that even the fish life have actually almost completely been eradicated. The problem is not to actually develop that area, but rather to actually rehabilitate. If we look at how this project has been advertised, first of all, my apologies for actually the quality of the images. These are the images that I have been able to get from their official website. So how are they planning to do this? You only see development being advertised of a knowledge city being made, or a medical city being made, or a sports city, but there is no emphasis on basically the ecology. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a master plan either, but these are the ways that they have actually imagined the place to be. You do not see consideration of the floodplains. We see seasonal flooding happening in Punjab quite regularly now. And how do you expect that these places will actually react to when nature unlashes its wrath? So just coming on to the last slide, I promise I'll be quick. These are the proposed solutions for everything that we have discussed. It might seem that these solutions are rudimentary, but that's the problem. We have actually forgotten the foundations. We need to build on our basics. And once our basics are strong, can we actually develop further on them? I'll just quickly go through them. How can we control the population influx? By providing the facilities and amenities outside of Lahore for which people actually come, such as education, such as health. We can actually do this by using the government sector, have their establishments again located outside. It is not necessary that every single government sector facility has to be in the capital. It can be placed in the surrounding areas. A commute of about an hour does not make much of a difference if the work needs to be done with the center. Industry, again, does not need to be within the city. It should be placed close to its raw materials so that the only transportation that is happening is of the final products. This again resolves the issue of the embodied energy and the costs that the raw material requires to come towards the factory. Then we need to be in a harmony with nature. We cannot fight against it. Ravi needs to be declared a national reserve so that its ecology can revive, so that the flora and fauna can flourish of that area, so that the nature does not fight with our urban settlements. We need to start reducing our footprint by treating our waste. I talked about how much waste is being produced, and so we need to reduce that as much as possible. Heritage is actually one of the biggest opportunities that we have, which is going ignored. We can create so many employment opportunities through that, simply through conservation and eventually through tourism. Public transport is a must. We need to bring it. We need to stop people from using their private modes of transportation and bring them onto public modes. Lastly, the last 2 points, walkability is for the areas that are being developed now. Rather than have it be automotive-centric, we need to make it more pedestrian-centric, right? That way, automatically, the urban sprawl also starts to get controlled. The human being needs to be made the priority, not the car. And last but not least, reduce the population density disparity. This is for the areas that are already existing. Just a small example, why can we not allow people to just build one more floor to sublet to other people? This brings in about another form of income, as well as actually allowing 2 households to live in the same area. So automatically we see that the density of that area, which is already established, starts to increase, and that disparity between the populations of different areas actually start to get reduced. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker of the day is Hamza bin Ishaq, a retrofit designer and architect at 4M Technologies, passionate about sustainable architecture with a Bachelor's of Architecture from the University of Punjab, class of 2020, and certification in renewable energy and green building entrepreneurship from Duke University's Nicholas School of Environment. Please give him an applause.
That's not mine. Hello Ji, I'm Hamza and I'm a retrofit designer from Lahore, and I'm here to talk. Yeah, this is my presentation. Hi again. Today my topic on which I'm talking about is reversing urban sprawl, and I'll be linking that with sustainable urban practices and retrofit design. So we're going to start with the basic definition that we all read in the architecture school, and what we didn't quite understood back when we were students was when there is an urban sprawl happening, there are three very major things that happen with it. There is an environmental degradation, and there is a socio-spatial inequality, and there is a resource inefficiency that happens everywhere when a city is made. Secondly, why am I talking about that topic? Because the theme of this event is Urban Horizons, urban planning, and my field is related to sustainability, and I'm a retrofit designer. And by retrofit design, to put it very simply, it's about creating a lower carbon footprint for the buildings that are already existing. When we are making a new project, we can calculate and design how much of a carbon footprint it would cost, and how we can lower it down. But the older buildings that are already being constructed, what to do about them? So that is retrofit design, and today I'm going to try to connect all of that. So we're going to start with the basic definitions that we all read in the architecture school. The first one that we most probably read about, Henry Lefebvre in third year most probably, and Jane Jacobs, and then John Gell. So Henry Lefebvre was the one who was an urban planner in the 60s. He came up with the basic definitions because he was born before us. He could come up with the basic things. And he taught us about how to make a city and what to do with the basic concepts of urban planning. Then there was Jane Jacobs. She added to it, and she came up with the theories that advised that there should be a level of community that should be made when the urban planning is being designed, and there should be a level of human connection, and people should know each other in a city. Yeah, then this third guy, John Gell, if I'm not saying it correctly, he came up with some interesting things. He proposed that cities should be human-centric, not car-centric, because by the time the 70s came, there were a lot of cars in the cities. And he also proposed some theories that advised that cities should be made with cars being driven at 5 kilometers per hour and not 60 kilometers per hour. And he was fortunate enough to get some projects like the Times Square in New York and some projects in Canada where he was actually able to pull it off. So for this presentation, I have came up with a city in Brazil. It's called Curitiba. And they have done some remarkable work in urban planning. And the reason for choosing that as a case study for this presentation is it's a South American city. And usually when we're talking about such things on such forums, we're mostly talking about first world, we're talking about Europe, and we're talking about America. And back of the mind, when we're all talking about these things, in the back of our head, we're always thinking that, these are first world, they have different economical and political setups. So the things that we're talking about, they're not very practical for us. So I wanted to take something which is more contextual, and I wanted to talk about a similar land where they face kind of similar political and economical issues, but they were able to come up with something more beautiful and more pleasant and elegant. As you can see in this slide, on the left, there is an image of Curitiba BRT, Bus Rapid Transit System. And on the right, you can see the basic plan of the entire BRT that is going around in the city. It is a city similar to Islamabad. It is surrounded by mountains. It is an old city. 2 million people are living here. And one of the most beautiful things that they've done is every part of the city is connected through the BRT. If you are on the bus, you can go to any corner of the city. If we dive a little deeper into the city, Curitiba, we would be able to understand that 4 major points were implemented very beautifully. The first one, that was, the BRT obviously happened much later. The people were living there for quite a while. So what happened was, when they were coming up with the BRT, they were actually keeping in view that how the city is working, how the people are contributing to the urban sprawl, and where the bus needs to go. Secondly, they rather than demolishing the buildings that were coming in the way of BRT, they in fact retrofitted them. They made sure that the older buildings are being repurposed, and they are contributing lesser in the carbon emissions. And as I've mentioned earlier, the BRT was very integrated into the city. You can reach everywhere if you're on the BRT. And environmental impact, I would discuss it later. So when they were coming up with the BRT project, there were 3 main pillars that they were focusing on. First of all, it should be sustainable. We are kind of similar with that term, to keep it more environmental friendly. Secondly, it should be, as I've mentioned earlier, it should be part of the urban fabric, and it should be connecting the city rather than just going a road through the city, connecting Rawalpindi and Islamabad. And thirdly, the entire city was going through some projects, because the city was being treated holistically, and a lot of the older buildings were inculcated into the project and were made part of the city again, and their functionality was increased, and their carbon emissions were controlled, and they were repurposed for the making Curitiba more modern and more user-centric city. So when they were making the BRT in the Curitiba, the stakeholders, they came up with a few things. The first one, the entire city and the entire lighting of the city was converted into LED. And the conventional lighting was put off so that, we can save some energy from there. Secondly, the entire green spaces that were already existing were demolished. They were in fact made part of the urban planning. And one thing that the stakeholders, like the urban planning authorities, what they did was they made a limit on to how much of an extent the urban sprawl can happen. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the BRT was designed in a way that it can reach to every corner of the city. And since they had to see the city with a whole holistic view, all the slums were upgraded to give the city a more pleasant and more touristy, attractive vibe. One thing that they did that was very new at that time was environmental zoning. They came up with special environmental zones where the only purpose of any construction or any means would be to make sure that it is coherent with the environment. And one thing, when we're working in Pakistan or Islamabad, the main focus is on the bylaws of, how much of the bylaws we have to leave, like how much from the front, how much from the back. But there is like a separate whole body that administers how much of a sustainable building code is being followed by any building, even a house that is being made in the Curitiba. These are some facts that we are supposed to add in the presentations to make it more legit. These are some stats, like 2 million people are living in Curitiba. So it's like a big city, and still they're able to pull it off. Secondly, they are able to achieve a 25% reduction in their carbon emissions. There is a bylaw by the environmental department that for every person that is living in Curitiba, 28 meters square of space should be left for regional plantation. The BRT system is able to commute 60,000 people around the city every day. And 30% of the public buildings have been able to, the authorities have been able to reduce the carbon emissions of 30% of the entire buildings of Curitiba. There is this comparison between Curitiba and Islamabad that I've tried to do. So what happened when BRT was introduced in Islamabad and when BRT was introduced in Curitiba? The car dependency was actually brought down when the BRT project was initiated in Curitiba. Unlike Islamabad, green spaces were kept. Unlike in Islamabad, we can still see today that the new projects are being done by the destruction of the old landscape that the city holds and for which it is famous for. And the resource use, again, which is another form of retrofitting. The things that we have already, we don't use that, and we try to make new things. And that was not done in Curitiba. The older buildings were repurposed, they were refurbished, and they were made to last longer. Again, these are a few points that they were able to pull off practically by doing all of these things, not just theoretically. When they were making the BRT project, as I've earlier mentioned, the city was kept in mind, its urban planning, its urban sprawl. They collaborated with the city people, all kind of city people, the workforce, the business people, the administrative people, and they tried to come up with something that includes everyone. And again, as I've mentioned, okay. So one thing that Curitiba is also doing is, after making the BRT project, there is an actual government body that continues to administer how much of an impact, a positive impact, the BRT system is creating on the city. And every year, an annual report is being published, and suggestions are being made, and that are actually being implemented. Unlike the BRT in Islamabad, we see that once it's done, it's done. Okay, so these are some other things that I've written in like another way, but they are the same points. Like when you make a BRT project and you see it in a holistic way, so it actually contributes to the city, it actually contributes for a better life of the people. And in my opinion, or in the opinion of the people that I've read for this presentation, Islamabad's BRT system is not able to pull it off that efficiently that it was supposed to. And the Curitiba BRT system Curitiba BRT system is a very pleasant example considered by the professionals. So as I was mentioning earlier, a lot of buildings were retrofitted. It's one of those examples. It's the City Hall building in Curitiba. It was a press office and newspaper was being published here. But as we all know, newspapers are outdated and there was no need of a press in a Curitiba city. So it was converted into a city hall, and there were made a lot of measures to bring down its carbon footprint and to include it into the city's overall aesthetic environment, like integration of solar energy, improved insulation. The existing the external wall insulation was done so that the tropical climate, it doesn't consume that much of electricity, and the people can stay in a pleasant environment by using lesser energy. The urban context. The water management system was placed since Brazil is a tropical area. There is a lot of rainfall, and measures were introduced to harvest rainwater for the building's purpose. Okay, so this is a slide that I've added to show that the things that we're talking about, these are not just ethical practices that we're supposed to do. There is actually government initiatives and international bodies are being active to make sure that, you know, we as Pakistanis, we should be doing these things. Like I've added these stats that are being proposed by UN and WHO and IEA and World Bank, that we are supposed to reduce our carbon emissions. We are supposed to do a more sustainable traffic, sustainable public transport, and we are supposed to do green spaces, but we are unable to follow those in the way we are supposed to. And we are also supposed to do some things on a government level. The government of Pakistan is, on a theoretical basis, is also implementing a few things, but they are they're not being made possible in practical sense. Like there is a Pakistan's climate change policy that was proposed in 2012, but there was no major action that was taken in care of that. So it's not just theoretical or ethical practice that we're talking about here. It's legal, and it's supposed to be done by every means. And the reason of making this presentation in a very simple way and not contributing any of my personal projects in that is that any of the students who are sitting here who are about to graduate, when you're going to graduate and you're going to get into the workforce, one of the first projects that you can get maybe are your friend's bathroom renovation or your uncle's kitchen renovation. And this presentation was just to give you an idea that architecture is not about pulling off the old tiles and putting some new ones and making a good connection with your vendor. It's a lot more than that. And that is the first step that you can take to make architecture beyond renovations and cliche practices that we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers for their enriching presentations. While we set up the stage for the next session, the floor is open for any question and answers for the speakers, if there is any. All right. We will now go directly into a very special session that is titled Collaborative Urban Visions, Academia, Policy and Practice. This special session has been organized to explore collaborations between academia, municipalities, private enterprises, and professionals in shaping the future of urban design. With this structured session, we hope to discover innovative urban design ideas developed in academia and explore their real-world application, and explore the potential of integration of academic concepts into municipal planning and regulatory frameworks. This session will showcase 3 urban design projects conducted at undergraduate level followed by a structured panel discussion. Our first presentation of the session is titled Urban Regeneration of Rawalpindi, conducted and presented by Osama Kasoria, Neha Farooqi, Tanveer Hussain, and Marine Muzaffar. Please come on stage.
Thank you so much, IAPE, for giving us this platform to actually tell everyone what's been going on in terms of urban when it comes to the academia section. I don't think before this we have ever gotten a chance to actually showcase to everyone how we conduct daily routine products in our academia process. So, can you tell me, sir, how to? Okay. So you can give your introduction first.
Hello, my name is Architect Osama. Okay, sorry. Hello, my name is Architect Osama Kasoria. I'm a visiting faculty in National College of Arts, Rawalpindi campus. And we did this project on urban regeneration.
Sorry for the delay. We're just waiting for our presentation to be up here. Okay. They weren't just able to figure out. I'm so sorry for the delay. Okay, so we're from NCA. We're visiting faculty over there, and we are currently taking 4th year. So, you know, when we're in 4th year, we kindly try to focus on the topics of urbanism. So we did a project back in August, which was almost like an 8-week project, and it focused on the design interventions as catalyst for urban regeneration in Rawalpindi. So why Rawalpindi? I think I was born in Rawalpindi 30 years ago, and even today, jo mujhe blurred memories hain, I can still think that the areas are still the same. They haven't really changed. If anyone here from Rawalpindi can relate, if you know Lal Kurti, I think it was the same 30 years ago. If you know Sadr, it was the same. Murray Road, they've been just building roads, bridges. But overall infrastructure, the urban spaces, they've all been the same. If you look at very bazaars like Raja Bazaar, Satellite Town, over the period of time, I think the entire aura of Rawalpindi has rotten. And it has impacted the local residents in a very, in a way where they haven't been able to, communicate with each other. The communities have deteriorated. There has been a cycle, continuous cycle of inequality and poverty that we see over there. You can take this.
Okay, so next please. What did we target basically? Here, what we wanted to do is to have the student the ability to observe about the adaptability and the resilience in the old towns. हमारे यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा था कि basically हमारे over the years वही old town है, the challenges are coming, लेकिन क्या हो रहा है कि हमारे उसमें वो interventions नहीं आ रहे which are according to the new area. जो एक time होता है with the time जो cities adopt करते हैं according to the challenges, we are not actually providing the experience of the cities. What we are doing is bringing the city to the stage जहाँ पे वो survive कर रहा है, but the lack is experience. तो हम लोगों ने किस तरीके से उन areas के अंदर वापस वो लाइफ लेके आनी है कि वो ना सिर्फ अपनी functions को पूरा करें बल्कि वो experience provide करें user को जिससे वहाँ की livability improve हो सके. That was the target actually which we wanted to achieve. और इसके लिए जो सबसे बेस्ट चीज़ थी जो हम ये सोचते थे कि जिस तरह से स्टूडेंट्स को इसको करना चाहिए इज़ टू बाय ये खुद जाएं वहाँ पे एंड दे शुड ऑब्जर्व विद टाइम, दे शुड स्पेंड टाइम ओवर देयर इन द ओल्ड सिटीज़, दे शुड सी द चैलेंजेस कि वो जो चैलेंजेस हैं जो उनको खुद फेस करने पड़ रहे हैं, जो लोगों को फेस करने पड़ रहे हैं. बिकॉज इन अर्बन द पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ यूज़र इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. तो हम लोगों ने थ्रू द यूज़र और उसकी जो सिटीज़ के पैटर्न्स हैं उसके अंदर क्या हो रहा है, उसकी फंक्शनैलिटी क्या है, उसके अंदर प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हैं और विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो फेस करें, वो चैलेंजेस हैं, वो ऑब्ज़र्व करके और उसके सॉल्यूशंस की तरफ हम स्टूडेंट्स को लेके आए. ये वो बेसिकली एरियाज़ और वो चैलेंजेस हैं जो शो हो रहे हैं ऑन साइट, जो हमारे सिटी ओल्ड सेंटर्स हैं, जो ऑर्गेनिक सेंटर्स हैं सिटी के, उसके अंदर जो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज.
Okay, so we divided the class of 50 students into 6 different groups and we gave them different areas. If you can see, Islamabad is right there, Rawalpindi is right there. So when you look at the pattern of Islamabad, since it's a planned city, planned on a grid, we can see that the way it's moving on, the way the sprawl is going on for Islamabad, it's very patternized because it's planned. When you look at Rawalpindi, you can see the chaos, you can see the sprawl, it's all so organic. So humne apne students ko, we allotted them with 6 different sites. Number 1 was Sadr, which is from Kashmir Road to the railway station. Second site is Sadr again, which is from Murray Road to Kashmir Road. Third site is Lalkurti. I hope you all are aware of it. It's a bazaar near in Kent, Rawalpindi, right next to CMH and GHQ. The fourth is the Satellite Town. Satellite Town has always been a very posh area in Rawalpindi. At a certain time, it had big houses. Over the period of time, since no urban productivity was done over there, it deteriorated. And on number 5th, we targeted Rahmanabad, and then on number 6th, we had Sadiqabad. We've just catered 2 different sites for you right now to show because obviously we're short on time. So this was Lalkurti, being one of the major bazaars of Rawalpindi because it's situated in Kent and a lot of old Pindiites still live in Kent. So it was the history, the site location where it's been placed. Then when you look at Lalkurti also has, starting from 1857, it had different temples. It had a lot of, Lalkurti still has major churches from the British colonial era. Then when you keep on moving ahead, so wo sara architecture bilkul piche reh gaya, and now what the new things are, bike shops, tailor shops, encroachments, different dukane, जब आप further लाल कुर्ती के अंदर एक तो main strip है बाजार की, but when you keep on going in further, you actually figure out that every street has a different name. For instance, there's a tailor street. A lot of tailors are sitting over there. And one very important thing that I noticed was that it's all mixed use. नीचे आपके सारे कोई कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी होगी और ऊपर वही लोग रह रहे होंगे जिनकी इनकम जनरेशन नीचे से हो रही होगी. So it's all linked with each other. So the students went to different streets, mechanic streets, obviously site analysis being a very integral part throughout your undergrad course. They did a site analysis in which the accessibility showed that it's a very important area. As you see, there's GHQ, there's CMH, there's Namal University. There was a time that NUST University was also situated somewhere near Lal Kurti. Going ahead, the students went through the site photography. You know, they figured out commercial, residential and mixed use spaces. They're all marked with the small dots. This was a photo walk कि पूरे बाजार में क्या हो रहा है, entire लाल कुर्ती के अंदर क्या क्या important चीज़ें हैं. Then religious diversity में we see that there are still 2 temples in Lal Kurti who are still catering for Hindus which are located in the area. Then there are a lot of churches, and then obviously there are a lot of mosques, and you even get to see one Eidgah जो कि लाल कुर्ती मेन बाजार के अंदर है, and then you get to see one mazar also. So by telling you this, the point is that it's such a diverse, you know, like there's so much of religious diversity in one bazaar of Rawalpindi, and since it hasn't been taken care of over the period of time, these things have completely rotten over the years. So the students did the subjective mapping, उन्होंने road mapping की, accessibility maps, all in detail. Then somewhere here they did all the activities, because अगर अब आप लोग भी किसी बाजार में जाते हैं, you guys must have noticed कि इतनी ज़्यादा encroachment है. हर जगह पे कोई ठेले वाला खड़ा हुआ है, कहीं पे कोई सब्जी वाला है, कहीं पे कोई मोची बैठा हुआ है. So we, you know, our authorities are not providing them with the right platform to probably sit somewhere in a market how we see in urban productive areas, like probably how we see in other places. So then they did the visual depth, obviously how they had to document the entire thing. Surveys were done, constant questions were asked. और एक मजे की बात ये कि when they were conducting questions, the people living there have been so comfortable over the period of years that they don't want to complain about the areas they're living in. The sewerage system is bad, there's no proper collection of waste, but still they're so content because उनको वो कभी you know, मौका ही नहीं मिला जहाँ पे उनकी से सुनी जाए. अगर अब हम एक जगह पे रहते हैं and we actually notice that, you know, outside our gate we trash collect हो रहा है, but we have no authority to actually go to and address it to them that, you know, we as being the community, we as being the major stakeholder, we need help in this. So the students documented this in detail, and then the group divided the different areas of Lal Kurti among themselves. Moving ahead, this the point to show this is, now this was the area which was the commercial market जो एक और group कर रहा था from our class, कि while we were conducting this project और जितना contextual analysis उन्होंने on foot on site जाके करना था, one of the major thing was to bring them back to research where they need to learn. They need to get back to the literature review and see what is urbanism, how is it done. Placemaking being one of the most important part of it, जिसके अंदर tactical, strategic, standard placemaking आ जाती है. So they were brought back to that point where they were told about this thing. Then obviously sustainability. Majority of the students these days, they think that sustainability is just about green roofs and about water storage. And, okay, we'll hurry it up, sorry. So that's how they brought sustainability, and all of these things were catered. Again, the same thing, entire documentation were done by the students. Now this was the point where the students started coming up with their own initiatives. So now when we look at this, now this is the bazaar, jo ki I'm sure you all are aware of it, jo Ghakkar Plaza wali side hai, jahan pe Tehzeeb Bakery hai. So one of the students started rejuvenating that site, and he came up with a great master plan which was resolved, which had green spaces, which had proper pocket areas for people to sit, and the entire environment was completely changed. So the question is that if the students can come up with things like these, why can't authorities actually take them in consideration and put them ahead and make those places better? We'll quickly go through this. Okay, so this was another case study. अगर किसी ने सदर बाजार देखा तो उनको पता होगा कि एक टाइम पे वरान बस चलती थी. सो उसका जो बेसिकली बस स्टॉप था, इट हैज़ बीन अबैंडन्ड सिंस ऑल दीज ईयर्स. और उसके साइड पे ये सारी मैकेनिक शॉप्स हैं जहाँ पे ओपन गाड़ियाँ बाहर खड़े होके काम करती हैं. सो वन ऑफ द स्टूडेंट टुक दैट इनिशिएटिव and she worked on the design where she created a master plan that the cars will come in that area and they're going to be fixed. The mechanics are going to fix towards the inner side jahan pe wo sari road lag rahi hai, which automatically clears out the main roads. Going ahead in this, usne thodi green areas for people, food kiosks, playgrounds for kids, उन चीज़ों को भी साथ वो कर दिया. So the point of showing this is that there are a lot of students who still prefer working manually. They still come up with solutions which are hand generated. Oops. Okay, so this is another thing. अगर आप लोगों में से किसी ने notice किया हो, so the southern strip, which is the Bank Road, जहाँ पे Singapore Plaza है, has recently been pedestrianized. It has been blocked. There has been no cars which can actually go, so you have to park your car somewhere and you have to walk. Now it's a great initiative, but that has created so much of chaos because if you go around the evening time, you will never you don't even know where to park your car. So this is the parking area जो कि वहाँ पे allot हुआ है, but a lot of people don't know about it. So she renovated that area, made it in a good urban space, gave a space of amphitheater where people can actually come and sit and make it a more happening in a public space. Another student who worked on, if the images are smaller, sorry if you can see towards that side, what he did was कि एक चौक के ऊपर because of motorcycles and bikes बहुत ज़्यादा accidents और chaos create हो जाता है. So he gave a flyover, like a ramp flyover for the bikes and the cycles to go on, and the cars are still going to use the same road. So I think ideas like these are super great for places to become more habitable for people. And then obviously tactical and creative placemaking to make it more vibrant. Then another student who worked on a park which was currently existing over there. Another student who came up with a lot of urban generation where communities can meet, the people can talk, the kids can play. And sorry, we're short on time. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, the next presentation of the session is titled Livable Cities. It is conducted by Saman Qayyum, Cyrus Qureshi, and Osama bin Murad. Please come on stage.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Cyrus, and my colleagues and I, we wanted to show you the work that we're doing at SADA. We teach 4th year studio, and just waiting for the presentation to start. But basically, our focus, and basically, so I'm not going to be showing you one project, but I'll be showing you multiple projects that we're doing under the larger umbrella of livable cities. And we've been doing this for about 2 years now. 2023 में हमने शुरू किया था. And yeah. So the Livable Cities project basically stems from a criticism of our current method of growth and development. Because what we see is that the method that the administration is taking right now is all about creating more and more urban sprawl with a very large focus on horizontal expansion. Generally in our Livable Cities projects, we always love to start with this quotation by Louis Kahn. At one time, I thought the idea of towers with big open spaces around them was a wonderful thing, until I realized where is the bakery shop, and the park was not good enough. Some of our key objectives for the Livable Cities projects are always based on human-centered design. We look at breaking boundaries or blurring boundaries. We believe that the current method of design for Islamabad, or generally cities in Pakistan, which are based on traditional and conventional zoning systems, they create a lot of boundaries and between all the urban infrastructure. So our main goal is to break those boundaries and to develop a stronger connection between the street, public space, and architecture. That's what we teach our students, that architecture has to respond to the environment around it. The first time we did this, did a project under this umbrella was focusing on mid-rise housing. Because what we see in Pakistan right now is that या तो आपके वो है independent family homes का system चल रहा है, या they've jumped to high rises, and there's nothing in between. And even when they're planning, their architecture is considered as a separate entity on its own. So our focus for this project was to look at, and livable cities, one of the main things that we do is focus on redevelopment rather than new development. We always like to look back at the city, looking at existing infrastructure, and how can we make improvements to it? Or what can we do in terms of changing the policies or zoning that allow for the city to move in a newer direction. And so in this particular case, what we had done was we identified 5 different sites, and the selection criteria for these 5 sites was we wanted to infringe upon the boundary between commercial and residential. And so our students were divided into these different groups. The first project I'll be showing you is from Rawalpindi by Sadia. Sadia's project was a very interesting project because she really, because this is predominantly a housing project, she was focusing a lot on the complex nature of the Pakistani family. And because in Rawalpindi, what you see is there's a lot of joint family systems, a lot of people living under one house. So what happens when you shift or those independent family homes from low-rise to mid-rise? And what opportunities does it present to you? So you can see her lovely little details where she's trying to navigate between these complex families and creating architecture that accommodates everybody and also at the same time responds to the context around it. Over here, the idea was that the ground floor, because we do have this kind of typologies in Rawalpindi already, where the ground floor is generally commercial and above is residential. So she's exploring those same ideas by opening up the ground floor, allowing people and the building to open up to the street itself. This was the kind of stuff that she was exploring. The second project that another project, by Zainab Malik, her project was focused in F10. F10 is that very interesting place in our city where, and especially that area between F9 Park and the Markaz. Over here, her project was basically focusing on the in-between spaces. In-between spaces in terms of buildings, in terms of with the buildings themselves, and also within a building. And how can we exploit that to create more interactive spaces and yeah. So her project, because of course F10 is now that space where we have the low-rise and the high-rise. So her exploration, and this is the kind of result, and her focus was to create architecture where the facades would talk, where architecture becomes, and the livable spaces, they move from the street and also vertically upwards as well. And so that the facades can talk and people and the street have a very strong connection between the building and the street. So this is her project. So after this, so the next project that we looked at, we call it the corridor. The corridor was basically imagining the developing connections between the sectors and between the markazes in order to make it more walkable, more livable in a way. And in this way, because if we look at anybody who's familiar to Islamabad, is aware that the larger avenues are very car-centered. But the kind of project that we wanted to promote was, okay, what if the central accesses between all these sectors, what if we change the way you experience that? And can that possibly encourage us to walk more from sector to sector? And so the starting point for this project was dividing the students into multiple groups and redesigning the roads themselves to understand what is the complexity of a road, who are all the users, and can you design for all of them? And also, the current way that we design roads is very, it's the same. A motorway and a neighborhood road feel the same. The point is that, but in a neighborhood street, we were promoting the idea of a road that's more dynamic, that's expanding and contracting depending on the immediate context around it, and also bringing in multiple users. So the project started off from here. Uske baad then what we did was that then the students got a chance to pick their own sites, and again, bringing in all those livable cities concepts in terms of mixed use, mid-rise, mixed income developments. So this is one of the projects. Yahan pe Dua was kind of like paying homage to Anwar Saeed Saab as well and his projects. And so this is on blue area. So the idea was that how can, that's the main central corridor on the right side. And she wanted to open up her building or make this a node of a sort that attracts people as they're walking by, giving them that connection to architecture as well, and creating public space that kind of like blurs the lines between the road and the building itself. This is another project by one of our students, Umar. He was focusing on the site, on that intersection between F6 Markaz and Farooqiya Market. So the idea that how that, sorry. So his project was about totally disrupting the idea of the car itself, and at that point, can we change the environment around that road entirely to promote public space and also walkability and cyclability as well? And his project also wanted to like really pay homage to the Margla Hills as well. So he thought that this would be the perfect place from where we can really break this car-centric idea of ours. This is another project by Mujahid, because he was focusing on this connection between F6 Markaz and F7 Markaz. And he chose to, the site he selected was the 6th Avenue, the bridge that goes between the two sectors. And so interestingly, he wanted to develop a library over here because he identified how there were multiple schools, private and public schools, and he thought that this may be a very interesting a spot where he wanted to promote public space in terms of children and their usability and their presence within the city. Yeah. The next project that I want to show you guys is Placeness of Space. This is a small project that we did. And again, it started with 5 minutes. So on one of our walks in Pindi, we noticed how the water filtration plants were a very strong and part of the urban environment in the old neighborhoods of Pindi. And then again, it's not just Pindi, it's something that I think we can all reflect back on from our neighborhoods, wherever we come from. Ki pani ka collection to get clean water is such a strong part of the normal household. in the city, right? So we thought, but then the experience of going and collecting water was so disheartening in such spaces. So we thought, why not turn this into a project as well? And this was a short project that we did about 2-3 weeks and it was done in groups. This is one of the students did a very detailed study of the site, of its very rich context. Then they were able to really indulge in narrative building and understanding what's the idea of collecting water, what does it mean, and so it's not just designing the filtration plant, but actually the context all around it. So that experience of actually stepping outside of your house and making your way towards the water collection point and maybe creating that as a space for social interaction and public interaction and so on. Here's another one of the projects. Sorry, it's a bit slow. So we encourage our students to really understand the streets, to redesign them. We encourage them to think, who are the users, what is most important, can we give certain directions, certain language to the streets, encouraging people to walk more, to interact more, and so on. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. It's going backwards. Yeah. But I'll wrap it up. The last project we did is the city as a living entity. This is looking towards urban mobility. And it was a criticism of, so basically what we see, CDA is doing a lot of projects to tackle urban mobility, but we felt as if they were very disintegrated projects. Meaning to say, for example, parking का मसला है तो parking plaza बना दिया, cycling लेके आनी है तो cycle tracks बना दिए, bus, public transport का issue है तो buses आ गई हैं. But what if we were able to integrate all of these projects into one space to celebrate the idea of urban mobility as such? So what we did in this project was that we selected 2 sites which are existing sites for parking plazas. एक आपका है F7 मरकज़ में जो 2 basement parkings बनी हुई हैं, and then the other is the blue area में भी जो नए parking plaza बनाए इन्होंने. And the criticism was that, and because results even show that F7 Markaz wala jo parking plaza hai, it's completely empty, it's barely used, and interestingly the ones at blue area, the people who are on site and the response that they're getting from the shopkeepers in that area, they're all saying it's never going to be used. So then how do we promote parking plazas or the idea of urban mobility as such? And this project basically stems from Louis Kahn's idea, which was from his traffic study diagram that he had done in the 1950s for Philadelphia. And the idea was that the city outskirts pe, we'll build these big parking plazas, people from suburbia will come, park their cars, and then within the city itself, people will not drive. And they will be encouraged to walk more, to cycle more, to use public transport and so on. So then this is where our entire dialogue begins, where we say, okay, why does a parking plaza just have to be a parking plaza? Why can't it be the place where you come, you park your car, and then from there, your experience of the city begins? Whether it's through cycling, whether it's through public transport, whether it's through any other method of mobility. So this is Zainab's project in blue area, and her so basically her idea was just to make this blue area parking plaza as a mode or a node, sorry, a mode of connection between F7 Markaz and also G7 Markaz, and promote the public transport not only along Jinnah Avenue but also along this sector, or along this axis, sorry. So I'll just quickly go through this. So the students were told to do a very detailed study of the current modes of mobility in that area and then propose a new mode of mobility as well. And that basically also because this gives us an opportunity to break the existing grids that we see in Islamabad. Here's another project for F7. Some of her renders are not showing. Sorry. Anyways, so I just want to end on this last project that we're introducing now, which is going to be, I think it's a very interesting project that I think all universities should be tackling. And it's the idea of government housing is being replaced. And a lot of talk is now starting on this. And so I think if we can bring these livable ideas, concepts into these new developments, it may present us with an opportunity to really rethink where Islamabad is going. And yeah, thank you.
The final presentation of the session is titled Contemporary Cities. It is conducted by Ma'am Uzma Kabir, Ma'am Amna Naveed, and Ma'am Reema Shaukat, and it is going to be presented by the students of 5th year, Hamza Tariq, Tulab Naman, and Adina Kashif. Please give them a round of applause.
जी सो हमारा जो अर्बन डिज़ाइन स्टूडियो है वो सेंटर्ड था ऑन अ थीम ऑफ हैप्पी प्लेस. एज कम्यू सेज फॉर सिसिफस वी ऑल अज्यूम टू बी हैप्पी, लेकिन हमारे जो सिटीज़ जिस तरीके से स्प्रॉल कर रहे हैं, सो एसेंशली द आइडिया ऑफ हैप्पीनेस इज़ इंटरकनेक्टेड विद द अर्बन एनवायरनमेंट वी एक्सपीरियंस एवरी डे. हमने एक सेमेस्टर के अंदर 2 प्रोजेक्ट्स कराए थे. जो हमारा पहला प्रोजेक्ट है, इसकी बुकलेट अभी थोड़ी देर में हमारे स्टूडेंट्स आपके साथ शेयर कर लेते हैं. सो प्लीज़ नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. So in this project, the area emanating from the very node of Hathi Chowk, bounded by one side, जहाँ पे आपको रेलवे ट्रैक नज़र आ रहा है, और इधर हमारे पास रेमिनेंट्स हैं ऑफ द बिल्डिंग्स फ्रॉम सिख पीरियड. यहाँ पे सोहन सिंह द सन ऑफ सुजान सिंह की जो है वो हवेली इधर सिचुएटेड है. दिस एरिया वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली ट्रांजिशंस टूवर्ड्स द अदर साइड, जहाँ पे आपको बैंक रोड नज़र आ रहा है, और वहाँ पे एक बहुत ही फ़र्क तरह का जो फुटप्रिंट है कॉलोनियल पीरियड बाव महल्ला की बिल्डिंग्स का वो नज़र आता है. सो ये ग्रुप वर्क था. इसके ऊपर आई थिंक थोड़ी देर में जब आपको बुकलेट मिलेगी तो आपको एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लेवल की डॉक्यूमेंटेशन जो है वो नज़र आएगी. आई वुड पॉज हियर and appreciate the effort of IAPEX, especially Ma'am Sana, जिनकी वजह से आज जो ये एक gap है between us, the architects, और जो आप सब हैं पॉलिसी मेकिंग और बाकी आर्किटेक्ट्स प्रैक्टिस में, हम सब इकट्ठे होके एटलीस्ट अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं और हम एक्नॉलेज कर रहे हैं स्टूडेंट्स के काम के पोटेंशियल को फॉर जनरेटिंग आइडियाज़ टू डील विद द प्रॉब्लम्स दैट वी सी इन आवर सिटीज़. सो ये प्रोजेक्ट हम अभी आपको दिखाएंगे नहीं बिकॉज ऑफ द शॉर्टेज ऑफ टाइम एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस कंसिस्टेंट टाइम एंड अगेन जो वक्त की पाबंदी है उसके लिए. जी प्लीज़ आगे चलिए. लेकिन आप बुकलेट में देखेंगे तो आपको यहाँ पर एक हिंदू शिवा टेम्पल की स्टूडेंट्स की बनाई हुई कंप्लीट ड्राइंग्स नज़र आएंगी. एक्चुअली विद दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी साल से इतने सारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स में जो अर्बन स्टूडियो के अंदर स्टूडेंट्स डिज़ाइन नई डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का जो काम कर रहे हैं ना, उसके ऊपर एक डायलॉग जनरेट होने की अपॉर्चुनिटी हमें मिल गई कि किस तरीके से हमें उसको इकट्ठा करने का, आर्काइव करने के बारे में सोचने और उसको किसी तरीके से एक्चुअल ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ जो इम्प्रूवमेंट इन सिटीज़ है उसके लिए हम यूज़ कर सकते हैं. तो द प्रोजेक्ट अंडर जिसको हम अभी शोकेस करने जा रहे हैं, ये प्राइमरीली जनरेट हुआ है फ्रॉम द क्रिटिक ऑन एवर एक्सपैंडिंग सिटी बिकॉज ऑफ द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ न्यू हाउसिंग सोसाइटीज़. विदाउट गोइंग इन टू एनी पोलिटिकल और कमर्शियल डायमेंशन, हम सब अपनी उंगलियों पे गिन सकते हैं वो सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स, बल्कि हमारी जो सिटी का एक विजुअल लैंडस्केप है दैट टॉक्स अबाउट, जिसमें हमें हर रोज़ बड़े बड़े जो है वो बिलबोर्ड्स नज़र आते हैं अनाउंसिंग एनी न्यू हाउसिंग डेवलपमेंट कमिंग अप. अब ये जो स्प्रॉल है प्राइमरीली इससे जो है where does this leave us? This leave us with this frantic attempt to somehow manage the issues of urban mobility. जैसे अभी बात कर रहे थे साइरस थोड़ी देर पहले, urban infrastructure management के issues हैं. एक continuous हम सब की एक realization है कि किस तरीके से हम ज़्यादा livable, ज़्यादा सेंस ऑफ प्लेस वाले हमारे पब्लिक स्क्वायर्स किस तरीके से शहर के अंदर हम रिटेन कर सकते हैं, शहरों को वॉकेबल बना सकते हैं, सोशल इंटरेक्शन को इन्हांस कर सकते हैं. सो व्हाट वी थॉट वाज स्लाइटली एक्सपेरिमेंटल स्टूडियो. जनरली अर्बन स्टूडियो में हम ये काम नहीं करते. हमने कहा क्यों ना हम एक ऐसा नेबरहुड डिज़ाइन करें जिसमें हम इश्यूज़ ऑफ डेंसिटी, कॉम्पैक्टनेस, वॉकेबिलिटी की बात कर सकें इन द realm of the new dynamic of how we live, work and play. Since COVID, the idea of virtual working environments बहुत ज़्यादा जो है वो popular हो गया है. So in how the modern जो हमारी environment है इसके क्या pressures हैं, city के अपने क्या problems हैं, तो उसके लिए एक neighborhood design के unit को देखा जाए as a module जो कि शहर के साथ integrate होता है. हमारे स्टूडेंट्स जो भी आपको काम दिखाएंगे उसके लिए हमने जो क्लाइंट लिया द वेरी DHA को लिया. बहुत जो भी लेटेस्ट एक प्रोजेक्ट हमारे पास आया है वो CDA और DHA का जॉइंट JV का जो मागला इनक्लेव लॉन्च हो रहा है. दैट्स जस्ट आई एम सेइंग कि किस तरीके से एवर एक्सपैंडिंग डेवलपमेंट्स हैं. तो यहाँ पे जो साइट आपको नज़र आ रही है, ये नीचे वाले इसमें इमेज में आपको नज़र आ रही है, प्राइमरीली ये जो हमारा DHA फेज़ 7 का एरिया है ये वो डिज़ाइन है. तो स्टूडेंट्स ने इसके ऊपर क्रिटिक भी जनरेट किए कि किस तरीके से जब ये सोसाइटीज़ बनती हैं तो इनका जो अपनी एक नेचुरल टोपोग्राफी है, इसके जो अपने कंस्ट्रेंट हैं, जो साइट आपसे कहती है उसको डिसरिगार्ड करके, लेवल करके हम एक ही तरह के कुकी कटर जो है प्लान्स वो बनाते चले जाते हैं. और इसमें students are also encouraged to question the sort of standards or bylaws or design guidelines that we have in place, not only locally but globally as well. हम मल्टी-राइज क्यों नहीं जा सकते, हम ज़्यादा कनेक्टेड बिल्डिंग्स कैसे बना सकते हैं, आइडिया ऑफ डेंसिटी क्या है. जैसे कामिल खान मुमताज़ साहब बहुत ड्रामेटिकली कहते हैं कि लाहौर में अंदरून शहर के अंदर 1000 लोग पर एकड़ रहते हैं कंपेयर टू DHA जहाँ पे 7 से 8 लोग पर एकड़ रहते हैं. शायद ये गैप इतना ह्यूज नहीं है बट स्टिल इट्स अ ह्यूज गैप. सो वी लुक्ड एट बार्सिलोना, मैनहट्टन, ग्लोबली बहुत सारे जो है हमने वो देखे. और प्लीज़ ठीक है, सो जो डेंसिटी है उसको हमने इंटेंसिटी और फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ इंटरेक्शन के साथ मिलके भी देखा. सो आज हम आपके साथ स्टूडेंट्स के دو پروجیکٹس جو ہے وہ ڈسکس کریں گے جس میں دے ہیو ایکچولی انہوں نے جو ہے وہ ایک نیبرہڈ کا چھوٹا سا پارسل ڈیولپ کیا ہے اور کوئی ایک ڈیٹیلڈ کمپوننٹ جو ہے وہ ڈیٹیل میں بھی ڈیزائن کیا ہے. ہم نے تھوڑا سا جو پروسیس تھا اس میں ان سے کہا کہ یہ کوئی بھی ڈی ایچ اے کا ایک سب سیکٹر ایف ہے, ڈی ایچ اے فیز 2 اسلام آباد, فیو پیپل آر فیملیئر, اس کو جو ہے وہ آن فٹ ایکسپیرینس بھی کریں, اس کی واکیبلٹی, اس کے گرین ایریاز, اس کے اندر سوشل انٹریکشن کے لیے اور کلیبریشن کے لیے اور کمیونٹی کے لیے جو اویلیبل انفراسٹرکچر ہے اس کو کمپیئر کر لیں ایک اسلام آباد کے سب سیکٹر سے, تو جس میں انہوں نے G11-3 کو آپس میں کمپیئر بھی کیا اور ان کی ڈینسٹیز بھی دیکھیں, تھوڑا سا CDA کے بائی لاز آن ہاؤ DHA ورکس. ایک بہت انٹرسٹنگ کمپوننٹ ہمارے پروجیکٹ میں تھا جس میں ہم نے ایکچولی چونکہ سائٹ DHA کی تھی, سائٹ اس لیے بہت انٹرسٹنگ ہے ڈیئر آڈینس کہ یہاں پہ ڈڈوچا ڈیم بننے جا رہا ہے. ڈڈوچا ڈیم وڈ بی پرووائڈنگ فار دا واٹر ریکوائرمنٹس آف مور دین ہاف آف واٹ راول لیک از ایکچولی گیونگ. سو ڈڈوچا ڈیم کا اپنا جو ایک انوائرمنٹل امپیکٹ ہے کچھ حد تک اسٹوڈنٹس نے اس کو بھی ٹچ کیا. سو انٹرسٹنگ کمپوننٹ یہ تھا کہ وہ جو ورک شاپ تھی اس کے لیے ہم نے ڈی ایچ اے سے ہی ان کے بلڈنگ کنٹرول ڈپارٹمنٹ کے کچھ لوگوں کو بلایا اور بٹھایا, اینڈ دے ہیڈ دس سیلف ریفلیکشن آن what are the issues and gaps in the way they are approaching the design process. اور دیکھیں ڈیزائن بریف تو ان کی طرف سے آتا ہے نا, آج بھی ہمارے پاس آپ سارے ہیں, تو آپ جو ہمیں ایک اسٹینڈرڈز دیتے ہیں یا جو ایک کلائنٹ کی طرف سے بریف آتا ہے وہ جو ہے کس طریقے سے امپیکٹ کر رہا ہوتا ہے. سو آئی ول گیو دا مائک ٹو مائی ویری ٹیلنٹڈ اسٹوڈنٹس. سو یہ دو پروجیکٹس جو ہیں وہ آپ کو دکھائیں گے.
السلام علیکم, سید طلب نعمان here. So the project we are talking about is located on DHA phase 6 and 7 as ma'am said, which is connected with the DHA phase 5 from north and Grand Trunk Road from southwest. So this is our site. We divided our site in different chunks and we did a project on this site with accessibility. This site is actually جو اربن انفراسٹرکچر آف اسلام آباد اینڈ راولپنڈی ہے اس سے بالکل الگ تھلگ نہیں ہے, بلکہ ایک کنیکٹڈ اسی ایریا کے ساتھ سائٹ ہے جس میں ہم لوگوں نے تمام ایکولوجیکل, کلچرل اور کمیونٹی بلڈنگ اسپیکٹس کو مد نظر رکھا ہے. اور اس سائٹ کا جو میم نے جیسے بتایا کہ ڈڈوچا ڈیم بننے جا رہا ہے اور اس کے ساتھ یہ کہ جو میس ٹرانزٹ روٹس بن رہے ہیں اس کے ساتھ یہ ڈائریکٹلی لنکڈ ہے. اس سائٹ کا جو سب سے اہم وہ یہ ہے کہ ہم جب اس ٹوپوگرافی کو دیکھتے ہیں تو یہ تھریش ہولڈ ہے بیسیکلی ماگلا ہلز اور جو پلیٹیو جس پہ ہم رہ رہے ہیں اس کے درمیان کا, تو اس میں بہت زیادہ اپس اینڈ ڈاؤنز ہیں. اور اس کا جو نیچرل فیچرز ہیں جیسے واٹر فیچرز جو کہ ہم جب ہسٹوریکل امیجری دیکھتے ہیں تو پانی کے جو نیچرل فلو آ رہا ہے اس کو ہم نے مد نظر رکھا ہے. اور کرنٹلی جو ڈی ایچ اے فیز 6 کی جو پلاننگ چل رہی ہے اس میں یہ تمام لینڈ کو فلیٹ کر دیا گیا ہے. بٹ جب ہم اس کو ہسٹوریکل اسپیکٹس میں دیکھتے ہیں تو یہ ساری چیزیں جو ہیں وہ اپس اینڈ ڈاؤنس پہ ہیں. جیسے اگر آپ اس امیج میں دیکھیں سو تمام نشیب و فراز کو بھلا کر اس پوری سطح کو ہموار کر دیا, اور جتنی جگہیں ہمارے پاس اس وقت اس میں موجود ہیں اس میں جو واٹر فیچرز تھے ان کے بھی راستے چینج کر دیے گئے ہیں. So what we are supposed to do in this project to کس طریقے سے ہم اس میں ایکولوجیکل اسپیکٹس کو لے کر آیا جا سکتا ہے, کمیونٹی بلڈنگ کو کیسے لے کے جا سکتا ہے, ڈینسٹی کو کس طرح سے کنٹرول کیا جا سکتا ہے. سو وی پروپوز our design on this site.
So for that we studied DHA sector F, that is right there. Can we move to the next slides? So Assalamu alaikum everybody, my name is Adina and I think now the exciting part begins. I'm going to tell you one of the responses to this project. Can we go to the next slide? So the first project that we did was Ecotopia, and Ecotopia is a design concept that was used in Ernest Callenbach's book, and it focuses on sustainable cities and how ecology can balance cities in urban planning. Can we go back to the previous slide? So the main design that we focused on the design were pet shed design, urban form character, ability, and barrier-free design. Can we move to the next slide, please?
So we did several case studies, and for that we studied G113 CDA, Sector F of DHA, and Dodota village that was here, and some of the population is still established here, but most of has been occupied by DHA. Can we move to the next slide, please? Next slide. So this was the activity mapping that we established with our coherence to our project and the concept. Next slide, please. So these were the factors that were considered while we were working on the zoning and tabulations. What we considered the most was we studied the historical point of view of the project, and we studied the existing water bodies and the previous water bodies that were here, and the typology of the land, and the whole project was designed on these points. Next slide, please. So what we did was, considering our concept, what we did is we studied the natural plants that exist in Pakistan and that flourish here. So each sector was given a plant typology, and throughout the seasons what happens is the entire color palette of the entire sectors changes, and it provides a user experiences because you're able to experience each sector in different colors throughout the seasons. So that is what happened. Can we move to the next slide? So the plant typologies were studied that will be established here, and then one of the things that we're doing here are we're establishing the farms here. So it is the whole community is gonna yield their own food here. Next slide, please. So this is the master plan. The master plan was carried out in the sectors. So the upper sectors have are the residential, and they're the low rises. Because this is the highest point, so the residences are established here. So the planning was carried out axially. And each sector has been given a green space, because आजकल हम देखते हैं कि community पे focus नहीं किया जाता, communal engagement पे focus नहीं किया जाता. So the center point, the epicenter of each sector is a communal space that has a well-established landscaping, and it provides user experiences through plants, the landscaping, and the natural features, water bodies as well. The lower part comprises of mid-rises and the commercial areas, and what we did is we created urban swales here that will raise the water level of the surface beneath, and it will help you retain the rainwater. So can we move to the previous slide? Yes, this one. So what we've done is that the entire project is made on 120 acres. The total number of people that will be living here is 3722. That means 33 people per acres. That is what we studied in the precedent, Sector F and Islamabad. So the density is the same, but हमने क्या किया है उसमें lifestyle of the people, we have enhanced it. So the green area ratio increases to 52% and the circulation by 35%. This is what we've created.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Aghosh. Aghosh क्या होता है? Does anyone know? Aghosh क्या होता है? Anything? Goat. So that's the essence of our neighborhood right here. ठीक है, इसके अंदर हम देखिए आजकल की जो ज़िंदगी हमारी बड़ी फास्ट पेस हो गई है, ठीक है ना, उसके अंदर हमने प्रॉफिट ओवर पीपल की बात करना शुरू कर दी. हम नहीं सोचते इंसान के बारे में. तो इन दिस एस्पेक्ट, ठीक है ना, इन दिस एस्पेक्ट द ह्यूमन डायमेंशन इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. इंसान, ह्यूमन स्केल, ह्यूमन डायमेंशन इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. ये 4 फैक्टर्स हैं: क्लाइमेट, कनेक्टिविटी, कम्युनिटी एंड कैरेक्टर. इस पे मेनली हमने काम किया इस नेबरहुड प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज़. ये मेरी टीम है, हमजा, फैजान, इज़ा एंड माहीन. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज़. सॉरी वी आर रनिंग लेट, दैट्स व्हाई. तो इसको मैंने ना चार एस्पेक्ट से देखा है, 3 एस्पेक्ट से. थैंक यू. पहला एस्पेक्ट है मैक्रो, कि हम उसको लैंड यूज़ उसके ऊपर से उसको पूरा देखने के, यार इसको हम उसकी प्लेसमेंट कैसे कर सकते हैं. उसके बाद फिर हम लोग आ रहे हैं मेजो पे, जो पब्लिक स्क्वायर है, जो बेसिकली इन सब चीज़ों को एंकर कर रहा है एक साथ, ठीक है. एंड देन द माइक्रो स्केल, द अपार्टमेंट एंड द रूम. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज़. तो जो 4 डिज़ाइन एसेंशियल्स हैं वो सेंटर एंड एज की मज़े की बात ये है कि उसकी जो स्पेशलिटी होती है फ्रॉम वेरी वाइब्रेंट पब्लिक स्पेस टू क्वाइट रेजिडेंशियल डिस्ट्रिक्ट, ठीक है. उसके अंदर डिज़ाइन इंटेंट हमारा ये है कि वी हैव टू, मतलब हमें इंसान के लिए जगह बनानी, राइट. तो द फॉर्म शुड केटर टू द ह्यूमन बीइंग. दैट इज़ वाई ये जो फॉर्म जो आपकी आ रही है, इट्स लाइक टेरेसिंग बैकवर्ड्स, राइट. तो अब जो हमारी साइट थी, जो साइट पे ये था कि साइट के हमने जो है ना मेन हाई पॉइंट्स को जो है ना मार्क किया, एंड देन एक फ्लैट लैंड को आइडेंटिफाई किया जिसके अंदर ड्रेनेजेस जा रही थी. उस ड्रेनेजेस एंड उस फ्लैट लैंड पे हमने जो है ना अपनी पब्लिक स्पेस को प्लेस किया. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज़. अब इसके अंदर जो है ना जो मेन आपका एंकर है वो आपकी पब्लिक स्पेसेस हैं, एंड देन इट ट्रांजिशंस इनटू मोर रेजिडेंशियल मोर क्वाइट प्लेस, ठीक है ना. हमने मेनली जो इस्तेमाल की है ना वो सुपर ब्लॉक प्लानिंग इस्तेमाल करी है. सुपर ब्लॉक प्लानिंग में जो है ना हमने पीछे अच्छा, तो इन दी एंड डेंसिटी पे बात आती है ना कि it's not working. अच्छा, तो अगर आप मास्टर प्लान को देखें तो उसमें जो एक्चुअल व्हीकल की जो लूप्स है ना वो बहुत, उसकी परसेंटेजेस बहुत कम है. वेयर जो पेडेस्ट्रियन है जो ऑरेंज है वो बहुत हैवी है. तो हमने पेडेस्ट्रियन और वॉकेबिलिटी पे बहुत ज़्यादा काम किया कि आपके सुपर ब्लॉक्स जो है ना इंटरनली क्या हो रहा है ये बहुत सेंसिटिव है यार. तो बहुत सेंसिटिव है हम सब की तरह. अच्छा खैर, तो जैसे आप देख रहे हैं कि हमारी पेडेस्ट्रियन पे बहुत हैवी हमने वो किया है. इसकी वॉकेबिलिटी है कि एक कॉर्नर से दूसरे कॉर्नर तक यू नीड 10 मिनट्स टू वॉक. तो आप बेसिकली इंसान को उस तरीके से जो है ना आप केटर करेंगे वॉकेबिलिटी के हिसाब से, ठीक है. तो जो नेक्स्ट है जो आपका पब्लिक स्पेस जो आपको एंकर कर रहा है थ्रू प्रोमनाड्स. हमारा मेन मकसद ये था कि हम प्रोमनाड्स यूज़ करेंगे टू एक्चुअली ब्रिंग इन पीपल फ्रॉम रेजिडेंशियल जोन टू दी. फिर चेंज हो गया, ये क्या हो रहा है यार. ठीक है, खैर एनीवेज, तो इसके आगे जो है ना अगर हम बात करें डेंसिटी की, ठीक है, तो हमने 4 तरीके की जो है ना सेटिंग्स की हुई हैं इसके अंदर. उसके अंदर जो नंबर 1 सेटिंग है वो आपकी डबल स्टोरी सिंगल डिटैच हाउसिंग है, लो राइज सुपर ब्लॉक्स हैं, ठीक है, मिड यूज अपार्टमेंट्स है जो कमर्शियल के साथ कनेक्टेड है, एंड एक हाई राइज अपार्टमेंट है जिससे डेंसिटी हमारी ऑप्टिमल होगी, ठीक है. ये एक कनेक्शन है ऑफ द प्रोमनाड फ्रॉम द रेजिडेंशियल जोन टू द प्रोमनाड टू द पब्लिक स्पेस, जिसके अंदर हमने कोशिश करी कि वो एक लाइवली एक्टिविटी उसके अंदर हर जगह से रहे, एंड द व्यूज कुड बी वेरी इस तरीके से. फिर अगर हम सुपर ब्लॉक की बात करते हैं तो एक इंटरेस्टिंग बात यह है कि आजकल के जो मॉडर्न आर्किटेक्चर है उसके अंदर एवरीथिंग इज़ वेरी मोनोटोनस, सब एक जैसा लगता है, ठीक है ना. एक दीवार बना दी बेटा टाउन के अंदर, बिल्डिंग नहीं है वो दीवार होती है. तो उसके लिए जो है ना उसको ब्रेक करने के लिए एवरी 40 to 80 फीट पे जो है ना आपको हाइट ब्रेक करनी होती है, विच मेक्स इट इंटरेस्टिंग कि शहर में बंदा चलता है ना तो वो एक मतलब एक कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी पैदा हो और बंदा थोड़ा सा उसके मतलब. और दूसरी बात ये कि आपकी हाइट्स 4 स्टोरी 5 स्टोरी बिल्डिंग इनफ होती है टू लाइक एक्चुअली हैव शेड ऑन द रोड व्हाइल क्रिएटिंग इंश्योरिंग वॉकेबिलिटी. तो हमारा जो एक सुपर ब्लॉक है ना वो 200 फीट बाय 200 फीट का है, ठीक है ना, विच मतलब 200 फीट के अंदर ना विजुअल ब्लॉक्स फिर बढ़ गया. हाँ, दिस इज वन ऑफ द ग्राफिक ऑफ द सुपर ब्लॉक, ठीक है, जो कॉन्टोर से प्लेस्ड है, ठीक है, जिसके अंदर मतलब वो सारी टेरेसिंग कर रही है. जब बंदा बीच में खड़ा होगा तो वो उसको बिल्डिंग ह्यूमन स्केल पे रिस्पॉन्ड करेगी इन दी एंड, ठीक है. तो ये उस सुपर ब्लॉक की जो है ना ये एक डिज़ाइन डेवलपमेंट थी जिसके अंदर बेसिकली पहले एक जो आपका मोटा सा ब्लॉक था वो सैड सा है, लेकिन इन दी एंड इट गेट्स हैप्पियर आफ्टर यू लाइक एक्सक्लूडिंग द मास फ्रॉम इट. एंड लाइक दिस इज अ स्मॉल मतलब उसकी फ्रॉम द मास्टर प्लान टू द रूम की प्लानिंग है कि हाउ इट वुड कनेक्ट टू द स्ट्रीट. एंड दिस इज द व्यू फ्रॉम द रेजिडेंशियल टू द पब्लिक स्पेस. थैंक यू सो मच. एनी क्वेश्चंस? Thank you.
That was a really exciting and interactive presentation. Now I would like to invite our esteemed panelists on stage for our panel discussion. The panel includes academia representation, Sir Osama Kasoria, Ma'am Usman Qayyum, and Ma'am Uzma Kabir. Please join us on stage. Our experts on the panel include Architect Planner Jahangir Khan Sherpao, Architect and Planner Sikandar Azam Khan, and Mr. Khurram Fareed Burgat, Chartered Town Planner, Managing Director, Sheher Saaz Private Limited. And DGRDA Ms. Kinza Murtaza could not be here. Her office is going to be represented by Planner Ali Raza, MCRP, Assistant of Rawalpindi Planning Management. Please join us on stage.
एक इस साइड पे और एक उस साइड पे 2-3 लोग कवर कर लेंगे उनसे शेयर कर लेंगे दे दो जाके वो शेयर कर लेगा
Assalamu alaikum. I thank the organizers for this session. So we just like to comment on the 3 proposals, and they're all very nice, very good graphics, excellent presentation. The first one was Osama Kasuri's presentation. I felt it was very good, reflected users' involvement, and site analysis was a strong point, and I think the students must have learned a lot from that. The second one was led by Cyrus from SADA. He was talking about livable communities, and I think the graphics were exceptionally good. I really liked them. I really liked his approach, and I really liked the diversity of his proposals. And I don't know how long, what was the time span, but the diversity was really good, and it gave a lot of food for thought, especially the spaces and areas around the waterworks. The third one was of ComSets, and that was really nice because the first 2 students were not given an opportunity to present their work. It was presented by their instructors. In the ComSets one, the students presented their own work, which I think was very good. It gives them confidence to discuss their work, and I really liked the one Vosh. It was a very good performance, very interactive performance, and it was really good, the ComSets one, because they talked about biophilic, because the whole world has moved away from sustainability, which is an old 37 years concept, and we are going towards regenerative architecture. And that they really talked about it, biophilic design, but I think we need to talk about regenerative architecture and forget about sustainability, which is part of it. But that's a very old UN concept, which was 37 years back. So I was happy to see the work of ComSets with their biophilic design and their interactive sessions. Thank you.
Moderator will start, introduce, and then we will go.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you to all presenters. Very interesting presentations for all of us. Give us a lot to think about. And thank you, sir, for your kind words. Abhi aapne jo start kiye.
Sorry, I think I said before my turn.
No, not at all. You're always welcome. Acha, thoda sa just my 2 cents. As an architect working in the field, हम सब रह रहे हैं शहरों में, हम देख रहे हैं पॉपुलेशन हमारी बढ़ रही है, शहर हमारे फैल रहे हैं. अच्छी चीज़ जो है वो ये है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रही है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन रहा है. सो वी हैव रिसोर्सेज, वी हैव फंडिंग, चाहे इन्वेस्टर लेवल पे है, कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी लेवल पे है, बट काम हो रहा है. जो गैप आ रहा है, जो कोताहियाँ हैं जो आज डिस्कस भी हुई, that is where we jump in. And that is what, we want to discuss with our panelists here. So thank you once again, everyone. Ma'am Uzma, आपसे मैं start करना चाहूँगी. थोड़ा सा आप हमें guide करें कि do you think how important it is to fill the gap between our institutions जो research कर रही हैं, but वो research हमारी development में translate नहीं हो रही. So how do we bridge that gap and get the results into our final development?
So I think it's a very, very important question, and it's a very good question. I think first of all we would have to start with this: how academia perceives itself. Does it perceive itself as an entity that can't do anything, or does it perceive itself as a critical momentum that it can bring to the field or to the research? Number one is that how academia thinks and behaves and puts forth the ideas. That is very, very important. And the second prong, of course, is this: that part where the advocacy is the key, and that part has to be played by academia more and more, especially in the milieu of Islamabad as a city where I think the voices are very little, very low. The decibels of the noise has to be more, and that momentum will come from academia. And the third prong of, I think, what I can think of the cup, is this: that the academia has to have that involvement in all the bodies that are working for the betterment or for the field in architecture. So for example, all academic institutions have to have close liaison with IAP, with PCAT-P, with the local chapters that are working there, and work hand in glove. So unless and until we work together, so for example, this time what happened was that IAP was taking certain initiatives forward, and we tagged along and we said, all right, we'll be a part of it, because then this gives us this voice. Hence, if this is a panel of so many people here, there are 3 from academics as well. So this sort of visibility and voice is needed to be effective. And I think the architectural community is so little and so small that all these prongs, all these institutions, all these categories of practice, academia, praxis, and research has to collaborate quite extensively to really put forth their ideas.
Thank you, ma'am. Of course, we all understand this importance. Ma'am ने बहुत अच्छा हमें explain किया कि ज़रूरत है closely knit होके साथ काम करने के लिए, funding भी है, सब कुछ है हमारे पास. Then why are we still, lagging behind and suffering at the same time? Sir Sikandar Ajam, अगर आपसे मैं एक सवाल करूं related to our presentations, एक presentation में बात हुई हमारे population density की, high rise की, तो हम देखते हैं कि for example अभी भी जो नई societies बन रही हैं, more than 35 to 40% of the land is allocated to low-rise single-unit housing. So how would you suggest we as architects, we as these different forums like PCAT-P, IAP, how can we go forth to maybe start to revise our regulations? अगर 5 मरले का घर है, 10 मरले का घर है, can we maybe start to understand them as terraced housing or town housing? कि हम उस पे density बढ़ा दें, हम उसके number of stories बढ़ा दें. So if you could give your thoughts on this.
Actually, it's a very important question regarding densities. Unfortunately, the authorities and all that, they say high rise. And nobody's talking about densities. You can achieve relatively high densities as much as high rises on medium rise buildings which do not require an elevator. You can achieve high densities. What I am against is high rise is this, that it reduces the empathy. The concept of the street is null and void in that, and we raise a generation of children who have no empathy, who don't know the street. Gali ka concept nahi hai, neighbor ka concept nahi hai, and it's very unsafe for women coming from car paths going up there. So what I would be advocating would be that we have maybe 3-story townhouses. The bylaws may be changed. We can have narrower plots. The planning of it says 1:2. We can have maybe 1:5. We can have narrower fronts, deeper plots that will give us higher densities. We can have mid-rises, which will give us higher densities. We can even go for roughly around about 300 to 350 or 400 persons per acre. So that's the densities we can achieve and without going high-rise.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry, if I could just move to Saman a little bit. थोड़ा सा density पे अभी हमने बात की. So, thank you, Saman. So, I want to discuss the idea of जो scale भी हमारा discuss हुआ है, human scale पे. हमारी cities are designed, Islamabad was designed for the vehicle, not the pedestrian human. So, how can we tackle transportation issues? Can we introduce, cycling or maybe walking? How do we reduce this distance between, our commutes?
Thank you for the question, and it's a very relevant discussion, and we have seen the projects where they were talking about transportation a lot. I would also like to add to what Sir Sikandar just mentioned about high density, and I think the debate starts from here, that which region are we talking about? We're talking about Global South here, right? Pakistan is part of Global South, and we're discussing that, do we need high rises? And when we talk about Islamabad specifically, the master plan, it was not made for high rises anyways, because of the location, because of the kind of environment and the weather and everything. And considering that high density is our main focus, because we come from this region where population is a big thing. We cannot avoid this debate that in Southeast Asia, population will increase in rapid numbers. And we cannot focus on high rises, and we cannot just go to high rise, and the climate change that we are facing right now. So how are we going to manage the energy deficits, and how are we going to manage these other problems that comes with high rises? So mid-rise is definitely something that we really need to think about with mixed use. And of course, that also navigates us towards this mobility thing. Islamabad already was made around this idea of 15-minute city that we are talking in Western world and constantly debating and coming up with ideas. But this sector itself was giving that idea that it should revolve around walkability and cyclability and more better transportation infrastructure. But that requires a lot of foresightedness, right? We cannot develop these plans in short-sight plans like, okay, one public transport at a time. It really has to come up with this grass-rooted, more depth analysis that bigger transportation modes, how do they connect with smaller transportation modes, and how does that connect with the building itself? And then the walkability and cyclability definitely is the way to go with it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say, if anyone in our audience, if you have any thoughts, anything to say, you're most welcome. Please join in. It's just a discussion. We're trying to, bring ideas forward and work our way through. Sir, please, if you could further elaborate on this idea of walkability. And I want to understand, क्योंकि जब हम case studies करते हैं ना, तो it's very easy for us to sort of give a blind eye to the fact कि हमारा मौसम जो है, it's harsh in winter, it's harsh in summer, और monsoon rains भी हैं. So how do we encourage walkability in such extreme temperatures, जहाँ पे बाहर जाना आपको लू लग जाएगी, आपको heat stroke हो जाएगा. So इस scenario में what do you suggest कि हम अपने students को सिखा सकते हैं, बाकी अपने committees वगैरह में ideas हम put forward कर सकें?
First of all, thank you very much, and I am deeply proudful to represent DG RDA. Due to her busy schedule, she could not attend this session, and she asked me to attend this. So as far as your question is concerned, I'll take only 1 to 2 minutes, as the earlier discussion we have made all are relevant to planning agencies or development authorities, and which are also most relevant. So how to bridge a gap between academia and industry. This is again a very important consideration of this, because earlier we have a number of presentations where tremendous work have been given by the researchers, which again is very, very appreciating. So as a development authority, we always encourage this, and from certain period of time, after going through a number of experiences and having the input from all the concerned stakeholders, then we arise at a point where we frame rules or regulations. Again, the competent forum approved those, and there is a process. So in order to bridge the gap and in order to be more closer, so we would encourage if all those researchers or the presentations that have been given today may be shared with RDA as well, so that we can frame and so that we can move ahead accordingly. Secondly, the discussion was on density versus town housing and private housing schemes. So again, whenever a discussion is around private housing schemes, again, it is the umbrella under which housing is covered. Basically, all these things come under the umbrella of housing. So housing has to be met by either public or private. Private developer or public agencies, they can contribute towards them. So in order to increase the height, in order to give more FAR, in order to increase the population density, we have to analyze the capacity of the infrastructure as well.
Definitely.
If the infrastructure is not supporting and we are allowing high rises, it means we are inviting the disaster.
Definitely.
So again, proper research is conducted, and in RDA, building and zoning regulations have been framed where we have increased the height as compared to previous 92 regulations and then 2007. We have increased the height, but on those areas where infrastructure capacity is available, where the neighborhood as a overall is towards that height pros areas. So as far as your question is concerned, where you have asked about how we can increase the walkability, how we can promote walkability, and what are those key areas where research can be done so that we can go accordingly in order to be more sustainable. So again, I would say it is my personal idea that walking is a habit. So if you say someone, let's walk from one sector to another sector in Islamabad, so again, if one is very profound, one is very habitual in walking, it is very difficult because the scale of planning was towards vehicular oriented or car oriented, I would say. So
thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your input. आपने हमें regulations के बारे में बहुत अच्छा guide किया. Thank you so much. Sir, आप से मेरा सवाल यही मैं continue करूँगी. Our weather constraint, our transportation, walkability issues, and also थोड़ा बहुत अगर आप landscape पे भी design पे touch करते हैं at an urban level of how we can better, improve.
Thank you very much. Thanks to IPA for organizing such a wonderful event, and also all the academia and universities who presented their work today. I think it's a very good initiative in terms to understand the urban challenges which our cities are facing, and at the same time, cities are so complex, but somehow we have been failing, and we are not putting enough efforts to make them sustainable and climate resilient. If we see, like historically, the city like Lahore, city like Karachi, and city like Islamabad, which was most recently planned after independence. Many people think that Islamabad is not on pedestrian scale. It's a car-friendly city. To some extent, yes, it is. But if you look at a neighborhood scale, a standalone sector which has a markaz in it, and then there are 4 sub-markazes. It's 2 by 2 kilometer. Typical is the dimension of the sector. And when you divide the subsector further into categories, it gives you a human scale that is up to 500 meter walkable distances. There are footpaths available more than any other scheme in Pakistan. Even in Karachi, you don't find footpaths, but in CDA or in Islamabad, especially in sectoral areas, there is infrastructure available, but why there is no walkability, the scale which we are talking about, there are multiple challenges. The first thing is, as Sir said, that habit has a very little to do with the walkability, but when we have to enforce walkability and when we have to encourage walkability, we have to see
As
the
designers,
aligned
yes.
infrastructure. Like if we walk on a footpath in Islamabad, they seriously lack design standards, design specifications. Like sometime a person like me, who like in routine, we walk around 10,000 steps minimum in a day, but when it comes to walk on a footpath, it's very difficult to climb to some of the footpaths, and at the same time, weather is harsh. There's one incident. I was driving in Lahore on right opposite to the Emporium in June-July month, and I saw a Gora couple. They were doing bicycling there. So we were sitting in our car, full AC is turned on, but the Goras, they were driving, they were biking there on our local streets. The thing is, when our footpaths, our infrastructure is up to the mark, then comes the policies which will discourage use of car, which will how we can do that? We can start introducing congestion zones. We can start introducing parking fee, like 30 rupees. In most cases, there is no parking fee, but in some cases, there is a fee which is very negligible. Basically, you pay 30 rupees for the security of your car. It's not a parking, and it's not bringing any revenue to the council. Then the other infrastructure which support like why people walk, because you will not find all the infrastructure on a walkable scale. If you have to take a bus, there you need to have a bus stop nearby which is at a walkable distance, so that you can go to your workplace and to hospital and even to university. So the link between all these specific land uses that is missing. We have to transform our cities. We have to make policies in a way that we encourage public places, and at the same time, the infrastructure which is going to support the walkability. The third and last step, because time is short, what we have to do is we have to build the bridge between academia, municipality, local council, so that the work which we have seen today, which has been presented, they are also aware while they are making annual development plans in order to bring some projects within the city and urban areas and the neighborhoods. So if they have basic level information and the guidelines, they will be able to launch and they will be able to initiate those projects which are going to help end user. Because the thing is, most of the DCs and ACs and the municipal officers, they are least bothered and they are unaware of public challenges and the public at large, what they see and how they see. So in order to bring them closer, we have to build the bridge so that it is going to support the whole process.
Bilkul, sir. Thank you so much. So you've given us a lot to think about. काफ़ी अच्छा आपने guide किया. We fix our pedestrian paths. We get in touch with regulatory bodies, and of course, we incentivize walking and walkability. Thank you so much. Ma'am, आपसे sir ने बात की थी urban spaces के बारे में, how we create them. So how do you feel about creating spaces for a city like Islamabad, and then maybe a city like Pindi, which is more, जहाँ पे heritage conservation की शायद ज़्यादा ज़रूरत हो. You can't just, bring an idea and sort of transport it over there. It's it's more, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, IAP, for giving me and my academia this platform to discuss things. First of all, I like to take some background. We are talking about urban design. Why urban design? Because in urban design, we have to take the real data, the real problems of the people. We cannot diagnose and design cosmetic things for this. So coming to your question, how we can improve the public spaces, public life. 20 years before, when I was doing my thesis in the urban design, what were the issues? We have to take the issues which have to deal with the people, real grounds, and going to the CDA and the RDAs, and what the problems being a resident of the Rawalpindi is facing or Islamabad is facing. You have to design your thesis according to that. So real-time data is very important and crucial. You collect the data, and after analysis, you come to know that their issue is not what you are suggesting. What is their issue? उनको धूप चाहिए. How you can provide the धूप? उनको धूप चाहिए. How you can provide the sunlight to their dense houses? If I talk about the Rawalpindi, during my student life, now I am teaching as a faculty at NCA. I realized that we talk about people participation. It's very important, but हम कितने दूर जाके कितने एक्सटेंट पर जाके पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन को कंसिडर करते हैं एंड व्हाट दे आर सजेस्टिंग आइदर वी आर इंक्लूडिंग दैट इन आवर डिज़ाइन प्रपोजल और नॉट. सो फ्रॉम द लास्ट 2 years जब रावलपिंडी की बात की, उसके एरिया को दोबारा से स्टडी किया, सो अर्बन में ये होता है कि यू आर डूइंग डिगिंग अ लॉट और एंड पे रिजल्ट बहुत छोटा सा माइनर आता है. सो व्हाट वाज द आउटकम? पीपल लिविंग इन द कोर एरिया दे सेड we just need a storage issue. हमें वॉकेबिलिटी का कोई इशू नहीं है. सो लाइक वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि वॉकेबल तो वहाँ पे इतनी डेंस स्ट्रीट है कि धूप लगती नहीं है. इस्लामाबाद में ट्रैवल करना है, यू हैव टू गो, तंदूर भी है तो बाई योर कार बिकॉज धूप लग जाएगी. बट रावलपिंडी के इश्यूज दे आर डिफरेंट फ्रॉम इस्लामाबाद, एंड हम नेबरहुड कॉन्टेक्स्ट को तो इग्नोर कर ही नहीं सकते हैं. साइट की बात करती है, सबसे पहले नेबरहुड होता है. तो इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इस्लामाबाद, हाउ वी कैन इग्नोर द रावलपिंडी? व्हेन इस्लामाबाद वाज प्लान्ड, जो मेजर सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट नेबरहुड था, दैट वाज द रावलपिंडी. उसको देखते हुए, मारगला हिल्स को देखते हुए, रावलपिंडी इस्लामाबाद वाज डिजाइन दैट. So urban.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, I'm cutting you short. We're very short of time.
Yeah, sorry.
Sir,
so I hope I conclude it.
Thank you.
One of the most pressing the questions, and of course the point of this discussion: how do we involve our regulatory bodies, our municipalities? How do we bridge this gap again? I would really like to know your thoughts on this.
Can I speak in a bit general way?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I've been very lucky in terms of Allah Ta'ala has given me opportunities beyond my capabilities and to work on various exercises, starting from going into architecture, where I used to hang out in my neighbors. Sikandar Saab was our neighbor. I moved to Islamabad when I was a 10-year-old boy. Grew up here. The city that a lot of people describe, I feel they have missed the point sometimes. But then I think about it. Some of them were not even born at the time when the cul-de-sacs were there. The Islamabad neighborhoods were designed very differently. We talk about the pedestrian and the vehicular traffic. The vehicular spines were there, but within every neighborhood, which is the 2x2 kilometers, there was a neighborhood over there which was a walkable neighborhood. There were cul-de-sacs. There were spaces that you could walk to a shopping place or a primary school or something without crossing too many streets. And of course, who decides? That's a big question. Who decides how planning should be done? Should it be an architect? Should it be a planner? Should it be a rocket scientist? Or should it be somebody who defends us? Or should it be a bureaucrat? Unfortunately, over a period of 70 years, everyone in our system wants to do somebody else's job. So I think I'll leave that at that one and move on. Given an opportunity, what happened was we talked about various things. When I was at Acacia, one of the last things that I kind of was able to do over there was start a dialogue, start a discussion about this. Many cities have the same problems that we have. We are very lucky. Islamabad is unlike any city in the world in the sense that we get chairmen from CDAs. Every time they come in, they want to make it like their city. Where is the city center? Where is the, the point is Islamabad is a totally, if we are talking about, it's a totally different ball of wax. It's a totally different animal. It's not like the concentric city. You cannot apply rules of concentric city to Islamabad. You have to understand how that is. And so what we did was, I was asked, just like Sikandar Sahab was, I was asked to be part of that master planning exercise. It was actually a pre-master planning exercise some years ago. And what they were talking about, after half of the first session, I said, sir, are we not missing the point? Nobody's mentioning the linear city. Nobody's mentioning all that. The east-west city that was designed by Doxiadis, the first time he put down his pencil, he took 4 years to study how we lived, how we spoke, how we dressed, how we married, everything about our lives. How many of us are doing that? We're not doing that. We're doing stopgap arrangements and looking at beautiful pictures from other cities and trying to recreate that because it sounds nice. The point is this, we have a wonderful city. It's become a kind of a product. We've turned it into a saleable product where you can, just like, unlike any place else in the world where people buy cars to transport themselves, we buy cars as investment. So this has become an investor city. I took the opportunity to tell one of the chairman CDS, sir, are we making a city for drug dealers tomorrow? Nobody who earns a living will be able to buy. So he said, how much should the price of the city, a city plot be? I was hesitating a little bit because he was getting a little angry at what I was saying, and because they were saying that the first time they had sold a plot for 5 crore rupees. What job does CDA have to do with that? That's the open market system. The CDA person knows how much it costs to make one plot in terms of how much area is wasted, how much infrastructure, how many plots. But it's a simple formula. And with the information they have, once they plug it in, it's very easy. Why aren't we using that? The point is this, that they want to manipulate things and go beyond that. So he said, it's sold for 5 crores and you seem to not like it. I was the only architect who had shown up to that because nobody wants to bother for obvious reasons. So when I mentioned that to him, I said, sir, I think the city was not designed for what you guys are trying to do with it. Not him, but like the team, the CDA team. And I said, they're manipulating it. If you don't manipulate it, I think Doxiadis meant for the city that Doxiadis meant this to be, I do not think that a plot should be more than 10 lakh rupiah. Something that somebody will be able to, and so he decided to make it, he decided to make fun of that one. And after they were done laughing, I said, sir, मैंने तो बड़ा आपके लिहाज में कहा था, अगर आपके resources मेरे जैसे या किसी पढ़े लिखे हम जितने लोग हैं यहाँ professionals के पास होता, तो हम शायद 5 लाख में बेच के फिर भी आपको CDA को कमा के देते. What we did was, enough criticism, what we did was we went on, and while this exercise was going on, I spoke to that particular chairman CDA, and I said, sir, would you like to come in and sit in if I invite people here, to bring them here? We had the first conversation, if you might call it, a conference at the American University at Cairo on urbanism. We started this discussion, and some of the people in the front row sitting over there were there. And Rasim Badaran was our keynote speaker, a person who was a humanist in terms of his architecture and planning. And we started a discussion over there. The second part of that discussion came to Islamabad. We talked about capital cities, about Islamabad, about Brasilia, about Chandigarh, and about Canberra. And brought in people who were part of those exercises to talk about why they went on and kind of created these cities out of nothing, where nothing else existed. That conversation, we invited them. Nobody from Sarkar showed up. The chairman didn't show up. The prime minister was supposed to be there. There was another crisis going there. The point is, if you don't want to listen to professionals, and want to run the show, that is a totally different game. But if you want to listen to professionals, if you have professionals and don't use them, You know, what's the point over there? You
Thank you so
the
much,
best
sir.
Let me complete this, please,
Please,
because
please, sorry.
it becomes a meaningful exercise. We've printed some of these things. Some of these things have been, you know, the data is there. The people who are doing this work is the professionals. But the decision-making that takes place is somewhere else, which they don't take professionals into account. They treat them like, don't treat them with respect. And the schools are confused how to go about it. And I think unless professionals come in and work with the schools, with academia, together, the separation of academia and profession needs to be lessened. And that might be the exercise. That is why we have taken the initiative, there's again 4 or 5 people sitting in the front row, of bringing in an organization where a multidisciplinary approach can be taken to this, including the teacher, including the professional, including the architect, including the urban planner, including the city and regional planner, and the user, who's the most important, to bring them to one table and talk about what is needed. And take it from there. So I'll use this opportunity with your opinion to invite people to become part of this, to become part of that discussion. We want to bring it to schools. We want to bring it to places like this where we can have this discussion and see which is a good way to go.
Bilkul. Thank you so much, sir. You've wrapped it up beautifully. The importance of just showing up, which we all have done today. Sometimes you just have to go that extra mile for the greater good and work for your community, and that is what we are doing here. And what we've tried to do is begin this conversation. Our time of 1 hour has been cut short to half. I'm sorry, we're wrapping it up really quick. But thank you. You have all given us a lot to think about. Also the students with their presentation. Hanji, please, if there are any questions, please. Yes, please go ahead. If we can have a mic on the floor. Is that, no mic, sorry. Please speak up.
They or I'm the one? You're the one. Always the one. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you very much. I think we've had a great IAPEX 2025 Islamabad. I didn't get the whole 3 days to look at it, but whatever I've seen of it, I'm really enjoying it. We have some lovely people sitting in front of us, very educated, very well researched in this subject. And of course, the chairman, the president of our institute, mashallah, Fawad, is again an asset to this thing. Sikandar Bhai, Jahangir, of course, is always inspiration to all of us. मैं एक चीज़ suggest करना चाह रहा हूँ. I think we use this opportunity to see. We were discussing the same, you see, conferences में और इसमें जो when we meet informally on the side is really when the ideas start coming. There's another idea that was floated, which we can share with our political friends and our people in यही बहस करते रहते यार उनको बुलाया वो नहीं आए ये भी नहीं आए तो एक idea मैं suggest कर रहा हूँ इधर maybe it is of some worth or maybe it is not. Islamabad has really choked itself in the sense that roads, what Islamabad I knew 30 years ago or 40 years ago as a young man, I don't see it anymore, and all of us have discussed that. We all know that. मैं एक सजेशन पेश कर रहा हूँ कि आप न्यू इस्लामाबाद सिटी का सजेशन दें कि यहाँ से भाई निकल जाओ ये जो है बना गया था डॉक्साइड से इसको इसी तरह रहने दो make another city. It's a big business opportunity for you, make new Islamabad city, which is like a few 50 kilometers from here or maybe something less. All big cities. There's the New Delhi, you will see so many other all over the world. So there's a certain size, there's a size hota hai uske baad. As architects, we know that itne square foot mein itne log hi aa sakte. And there's no magic pill beyond that. So the only magic pill is trying to tell our leaders and our people who take these decisions, and हमें भी कहीं रख लें उसी सीन में, तो अब मैजिक पिल यही है कि इसको उठा के थोड़ा दूर ले जाओ और ये जो इस्लामाबाद हमें विरसे में मिला है इसको काइंडली इसको और डिस्ट्रॉय ना करें. डोंट पुट मोर कंक्रीट इन इट. let it be the city that we remember it from past years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your thoughts. We definitely have more ideas we want to talk about. Let's do that over tea, maybe later. We're a little rushed at the moment. Sorry, sir. Hum sab idhar hi hain. Let's just meet up and have a discussion informally. And
I just have, excuse me, I just have two short questions.
Ji, sir.
And there is a food for thought as well. First of all, I would like to congratulate IAP RAC chapter for this great initiative and this very productive dialogue. For the first time I have seen in the history of IAP, mashallah, it's a great achievement. I have two questions. We have discussed a lot of things and we know a lot of things. We know the solution. How to get it to the table and how to get that authority. You questioned that, but it was not properly discussed. How can we reach, how can we build that pressure to get that authority to get it done? I mean, this is the big thing that we need to think about. And secondly, we talked about the cities around the globe. Now we have universal street design guidelines. So for Pakistan, like new cities are coming and new populations are coming, do we have any such thing in place? And who is looking after it and who is responsible for that? So that is something, if we can take it from this IAPEX to have a street design guideline for Pakistan, that will be like amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Very valid points that you've raised. And of course, the discussion will continue and we hope to continue our discussion. That was the point of our session today. Thank you so much, ma'am, sir, Sabai, for your time, for your effort. Thank you, Ji. We will... Ji? Ji, sir, zarur.
No question, just a small little comment or observation. There is a lot of talk in terms of getting people from one place to the other, transportation, walkability. There is something that has been applied very successfully in so many various cities in the world from where we can learn. Islamabad is, I think, a fit place for that kind of plan implementation, where you can create bicycle lanes on the roads and set up various different bicycle renting stations. Essentially, I mean, we live in third world, so there is something to be said about maintenance of such facilities, governance capacities to sort of get it going. But within the sectors, people can just sort of move, or even from one sector to the other, people can move on bicycles. And I can give you the example of Bogota in Colombia, where the mayor actually implemented this plan very, very successfully, both in terms of creating those bicycle lanes, setting up the bicycle stations, and then running a campaign to encourage people to use that facility. And it is working very successfully there.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We're just going to wrap up now. Zara, if you could continue. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience and your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the panelists. Now we have Mr. Rehan Tareen, Country Manager of Nubili. He's going to share a short message. Please give him a round of applause.
थोड़ी सी deeper discussion भी करो।
हाँ, deep. वो सुने time.